time I close my eyes.
About these events like the PUBG Hot Drop 2025 that we just had is simply just meeting all of these amazing people.
Thank you PUBG for putting on this amazing event. It's been so much fun. It's been so great getting to chat to the devs, getting to see everyone playing games and having so much fun. Thanks to all the team that's put it together.
It's great to be here. I can only say to other PUBG players, come here next year.
Tour Chicken. New boss. Captain Crispy.
Down. Fat Cap still alive.
Eviscerate the team just like that. They have taken the game.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
It's that time of the month again. The PUBG's Player Cup is back on your screens. It's Gibson Cass, joined by the one and only Chunks to bring you through the action for what is, Chunks, the final sprint to the final Masters of the year. There's only this cup and the next one, and then it's done.
It is, and it's a big Masters as well. It is the West Masters Americas versus EMEA. It is going to be an exciting one. There is a lot to play for tonight. A couple of teams have already qualified, and what separates this Players Cup from the previous Players Cups is usually we're talking about the top 8 qualifying. This time around, it's only going to be the top 4 that qualify for the next Masters, and then the same is going to happen next week. But Gibson, let's run through the format, remind everyone of how we get here.
Yeah, so we run scrims during the week, best of 3, so it's just 3 maps and done, and then the top teams, based on their points, will qualify through to the Players' Cup. So this cup is already set, but there is one more set of scrims that you can sign up for if you want to try to qualify for the final Players' Cup of the year. Then we get into the Players' Cups, which is where we are right now, where we have a best of 8 over 2 days, where the top 4 teams, as you said, will qualify through to the last chance qualifier Masters and join the 8 other teams that have qualified. What's the format, you might ask, Chunks? Well, it's simple. It's 4 maps a day, 1 trip to each competitive map.
Yeah, we keep things snappy over here. It feels strange because we're coming so close to the end of it all now, but we're kind of in the swing of things. It's Miramar, Taego, Rondo, Erangel, 1 attempt at each map tonight, and then we're going to repeat the same tomorrow. But of course, we have to take a look over at the teams that are going to be competing. You can see some top names in here, some of whom have already qualified over for the Masters, such as 55 Esports and Team Mirror. But you've got some squads like Bestia, who, yeah, they're a top-level team. They've not yet qualified for the Masters.
Yeah, Bestia, they're not in there just yet, but they have made a couple of roster changes, so they're, welcoming Flood back into the fray, which is having an impact. But all in all, the big thing is here are your top 8, and as you can see, there's no Bestia there. It's Furia, Falcons, Liquid, Al-Qudsiya, 55, Toyo, Rock, and, well, Mission Ready Impossible Alliance, or International Alliance, if you want to use their full official title, which I do, because it's just a matter of respect, Chunks. You gotta say the full name for MRIA. But the team that surprises me that's not on this list is Team Mira. They have been dominant through all these cups all the year round, and they have put in decent performance when it came to the Masters themselves, but they haven't got enough points to get through to the last chance qualifiers directly.
No, but let's take a look back at the teams, the nights that we had where Mira were kind of the top team in the lobby when our partner teams were away at global events, at LAN events. They were consistently dominant, winning pretty much every Players Cup and winning that lion's share of the weekend's prize pool, which is $400. Remember, the top 4 teams qualify, and only the teams that qualify are going to be getting a share of the prize pool tonight. But let's go back to that point I made about Team Mira. Obviously, when we had those weeks where other teams weren't taking part, where you had your Falcons, Liquid, all these teams away doing other stuff, Mira were just so dominant. If they're going to qualify, tonight's surely going to be the night. If they can just keep up that momentum that they've shown throughout the past few months, then it would be very surprising if they weren't able to qualify, but only time will tell.
Well, those of you who are watching over the weekend will have seen that Team Mira ended the group stage of PAS top of the leaderboard, beating out teams like Falcons, like Furia to get on top. And that's a big statement when you consider that the player that we all would have highlighted as the diamond for Mira, being Kawazine, moved to Furia, but Mira are still outperforming them when it comes to that circuit. Now, they will be playing, of course, this week, and they don't have to worry about playing in the LCQs this weekend of PAS, but a couple of the teams playing tonight will be there, which is also something worth keeping an eye on, Chunks, to see how their performance, because this is some competitive warm-up for them going through to this week. But you know what? I guess done to talking about all the games that have happened and all the potential things that could happen. Let's jump into game number 1 of the night, going to Miramar. And you and I, we always say it. You cannot say Miramar without Mira.
Absolutely not. And one thing that we always say on Miramar, is, wow, Team Mira just got a squad wipe in phase number 1. So we'll see if they're able to do the same again. They tend to kick things off early. Now, it tends to be when we actually get those eastern circles that are really far away from where they actually drop, where they get hyper-aggressive early on, but they're so consistent in being able to pick up kills, even with the fact that we're constantly rotating teams. It's different squads that they're going to be coming up against with, but, you know, they're so dominant that they've got to be the ones to keep the eyes on going forward.
And what do you think of the potential hot drop here in Impala involving Team Kizito, who you and I have casted all year round, and then the fake Juventus, by the way. The logos look incredibly similar, but a team that I'm happy to see, and I think that most people here should be, particularly the ones from a North American persuasion, is Dots. Like, I'm a massive fan of Shane Doe. Always have been. Such a nice guy, getting better and better in the competitive side over the last year. I think that Zyko's a great player. It's good to see Baddy in action as well. And then they're joined by Valiant. So this is a very well-known set of players. And I'm excited to see how they perform, because we have not had a chance to cast Dots all year round.
No, I was going to say, I think this is the first time I've had the opportunity to cast them. I think I saw them in scrims, and they had a really strong performance, so it'll be interesting to see how they perform. They've got 2 really experienced veteran players, and then 2 that are maybe a little bit newer to the competitive scene, and it's always a good balance to have, isn't it? Those players that are excited, that are ready to take those fights, but also those more experienced players that kind of rein them in at times. But let's focus in on AKA right now, because they're in a bit of a hot drop up against Fate down in the southeast. Now, both teams are inside the circle, so neither will be forced to make a move, but they've been very split in the way that they've dropped, so DZ needs to be very careful in terms of pushing. It's a good job he's got a teammate there for support.
Yeah, and looking at around position of the circle, right, you look here where Shane Doe is at right now, that's Smoking Ace's compound. I think because the circle's just so much more favoured towards Los Leones, it's not a position you want to play, but it is a gateway to the whole of Los Leones for anyone pushing in from that western side. But early days, we have that hot drop. Now, we've not spoken about it yet because there hasn't been a bullet fired in anger, but Team Fate here, Vorpal, Flanker, Firefighter, and Tater, a bunch more North American players who I think a lot of people might know or recognize, are dropping head-to-head with AKA, one of the better teams from South America. And, you know, you've seen Doodoo Gladiator in particular for them has been impressive, but he's shortened his name to Gladiator, so I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, it's a shame, but it's less of a mouthful at least. As Fate really trying to disengage from this one by the looks of things. Flanker's still waiting. He has been able to spot out Gladiator.
It's go time.
Coming from up the hill. This is perfect for Flanker right now as he fires them on the flank, takes down Nanu. Only Gladiator left up. The hip fire with the Uzi comes through. It's not going to be enough to find the flush, but now Gladiator's going to be pinned. Molotov goes onto the front door just to take it down, and it lands through. That should be the end of Gladiator as he will be taken out. AKA now down to a 2-man as Flanker getting flanked himself will be caught out with a little bit of damage. DZNY able to take down Firefighter, so now it's a 2 versus 3 situation. But let's not forget that Fate, they had a player up on the hill, so he's not really involved in this fight. It doesn't matter though, because Verpal is putting in work.
Tater is the Overwatch in this situation, and Vorpal will switch over to the shotgun at close range. Zinni is only on like 35 HP, so one shot should do it, and that's exactly what we get from Vorpal. He will do a little bit of damage from that down position as the dead man's hand drops the nade, but that leaves Danshin as the only player left standing for AKA. They've got a full bit of information on the position that he's playing, and Team Fate, although they've lost Firefighter, should be able to get one more kill unless Danshin can pull something out of the bag here.
Remember what I said about Team Mirror? Oh, it's phase 1 and they're taking a fight. They're already committing to it. They've taken one player down low, but we'll stick on board with AKA for the time being as Danshin holding firm. He does have a bit of util to work with, but it's not going to be much use. Danshin, though, able to take down one with the hip fire. Takes down a second as well. Flanker and Verpal both going down. That should be 2 kills confirmed as he lands the reload and causes problems for Fate, who now are in a position where they have to try and retake this compound in a 2 versus 1. Now, yes, they have... a 1 versus 1. Fate are down to just a solo. So this could have been a huge play from that final AKA player. As for nothing, in a little bit of trouble themselves. They've got themselves a knock onto one of the Mirror players. But as Haven gets the knock, FN going to try and return a bit of fire.
Yeah, and this will be a good opportunity now to get that res inside the smoke. You got the opening knock. Now FN are not done yet as MHP will find LFP on the other side of the road. Jumping back in, Tater and Danshin are now in a little bit of a dance between the 2 solo players as each one will wait for the first to make a move. But Chunks, the big thing to keep an eye on here is whether or not they get the res. Fakeson back in that fight with Mira way over on that western side of the map. Infinite will get a knock onto Haven now, leaving Fake as the last player standing. Fake will disappear, he'll ride off into the distance, and I think that he probably will look to go back for those tags a little while later as phase 1's not quite as painful as it could potentially be. But Chunks, the real question is how much of an impact the FN want to have. Do they want to pick up those tags? Do they want to blow up a vehicle? Because the option's there if they want to take it.
I mean, there's vehicles that aren't being used. Why not? Throw those tags in the back, deny Mirror the opportunity to get the tags, and look, Sweetie's he's going to revive, going to pick up some loot. He's not grabbed any ammo. I can't see him grabbing any util. So yeah, I'd assume he's taking those ships. He's going to blow them up because we mentioned it coming into tonight. Team Mirror are a dominant squad. If you can deny them the opportunity to revive, you take that as soon as you can. Doug's Gaming, they took the EP all the way over from Montana Nuevo. They're now moving down towards Puerto, where we saw that hot drop take place, but they're not going to fully engage as Danshin now starting to move away, swimming for safety, and it might work out well for him as Bestia, they've lost Mime early.
And I think that he'll get the tags. I think Danshin, because he's managed to avoid the spot, might just be able to get his team's tags and consider bringing them back using that recall system. I think there is one in Puerto Paraiso. I'm not wrong. Tony will join Glock as they, I think they're blowing up some tags here too. And I think the fact that this is Mime has had an impact on why they're blowing that one up. The rest of Bestia are trying to maybe get some revenge, as Gabri will be that early alarm system. But you don't want to lose Mime that early, and that is disappointing for Bestia. But with the 3 players they have, Vinny, DraftKing, and Flood, they can still make something out of this game.
We always talk about being used to seeing those early game engagements here in the Players Tour, but I'm a little bit surprised that we've seen so many teams get so aggressive early on, and even more surprised that Team Mirror lost their kind of signature early game fight where they gather a lot of momentum, and you think about their win rate on Miramar, it's so much higher than any other team in the Players Tour. So interesting to see that they've gone down so early as PD. They want to commit onto this. They want to try and if not take the compound, at least make it impossible for Bestia to rotate out when the time comes. But it's all about waiting for that phase 2 circle now. We've still got a minute and a half till we find out where it's going to go. And you would imagine, you know, based off of history, that it does pull up to around this area. But if it goes down to the south, they are going to have a real rough time and maybe even be forced to consider whether they move into Los Leones early.
Yeah, I think, though, for me personally, I hate teams going into Los Leones too early. Like, do not commit to the city until you know for a fact it's going to be there, because getting out is just a death sentence for a lot of these teams. Just so everybody at home who is wondering, the map is available, !map in chat will give you access to the map feed where you can see all the moves that these teams are making and how they work their way around to the circle. And I think registrations for the next set of scrims are also open as well, but I will be corrected on that if I'm wrong. An ! Register will let you know how to sign up for the final set of scrims of the year for the PUBG Players Tour. DraftKings is going to take a lot of damage here from Gabri as he looks to find that knock, but manages to find a cranny inside that cliff face that hides him to get that first aid off.
Gabri looking to try find some shots over onto Vinny, but they can't connect. Nitavon, though, with a really nice spray, working with Tony to take down Flood out of the vehicle. Not going to be in a position where he will be easily revived. DraftKings throws up some smokes for a little bit of extra cover. Gabri's still able to find the damage through them. Not quite enough to get himself that knock. But Bestia looking very weakened early on. It's interesting that some of our top teams taking casualties so early. Bestia just about inside the circle. But I guess all eyes now go over towards 55 Esports as they start to make their late rotating from Picardo. We spoke about the fact that we don't like teams moving into Los Leones early, but what other options do they really have with so much space being congested?
Yeah, you've got that little section that's just been highlighted where anything in there right now is a bad idea. Like, I feel like it shouldn't hold on to Los Leones, and you'll see, other than the likes of OMG and maybe a Bestia now who are locked in that fight with PD, I don't see anybody really committing inside Los Leones. Nitavon will get his kill confirmed onto Flood, which is another player down for Bestia as they drop to it too. But while all this is going on, Chunks, FN rotated all the way south. They're coming in right on that southern coastline. They'll pull up pretty close to AKA a little bit later, who it does look like Danshin was able to get Zinni back in. Not a full squad recollected there by AKA, but at least one back.
I think an interesting thing to note about this area of the map as well is we've only got, what, 3 res beacons left in the circle. We spoke about the teams that had taken the hot drops. There are 4. There is still 1 down in Puerto where they could try and bring players back in. It does look like AKA have 2 players back up, so maybe Danshin was only able to get 1 chip as the rest of his team were a little bit of a dangerous position. So right now they're back up to 2. They could focus later on bringing the rest of their team in. Fakes in, however, well, he just bailed off the fight. He's played as a solo for this game. He will just about be on the edge of the zone, but needs to be careful with this squad just up against it.
He has the jammer pack. Now, I can only assume, I didn't keep full eyes on the map, but you can only make the assumption that he didn't go get those blue chips. You'd assume that
I think he just rotated east.
Yeah, he went up to Monte Nuevo and sat there for a while. And I suppose the good thing is your teammates know where their tags are, so he probably waited to see what FN were doing, and he probably got the call that FN have taken the tags. Now, Vinny, he's being hunted down. Nitavon and Glock, they're going to rock on up. They know exactly where the Argentinian is. First bit of damage is going to get dealt, and Glock will finish the job. Bestia with just 1 player left standing now after... It's been a very difficult start to them here, and it was kind of the same for them over the weekend at PAS as well. They're just not up to full Bestia form just yet with Flood coming back in.
No, it's one of those things that happens, isn't it, when you go through that honeymoon period. We saw the first time that Flood played with Bestia. It was a really strong performance, and, you know, sometimes it does wear off, and then you really need to start putting in that work again. Mimic, they're a team that we haven't seen in the Players Tour so far. Some names that I'm familiar with in here. We'll see what they're able to do, because they are fairly central inside this circle. They can basically choke off any teams rotating either in or out of Los Leones, depending on how that circle falls. Over to the northwest, we should point out OMG. They've decided to send it into Los Leones early. It's a high risk, high reward play, I guess.
Yeah, he's just at this point trying to survive. Like, beg for a circle shift or two, try to get some placement points. Remember, Masters is a significant increase on the prize pool, particularly the final one of the year, which will be fought out between the top teams from Europe and the top teams from the Americas. So, for those of you just joining, it is just the top 4 this week, top 4 next week. That'll give us our 16 teams for the Americas LCQs. Then the top 8 will join the top 8 from EMEA in the final Masters of the year, which, I'm going to say it, as a European working in the Americas, I got to back the Americas all day long. You know, we get kills in phase 1 here.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the EU teams are going to adapt to it. Obviously, I think there is a bit of a difference. You know, when I started out casting at the top level, it was APAC that I covered a lot, and they were super aggressive early on. And now you look at how kind of the global play style has changed because of how dominant those APAC teams have since become. I think that we're starting to see the same thing over here in the West, where these teams that take those fights early on oftentimes end up really dominant. We'll just have to see how things change. And, well, speaking of changes, the BRDM, a relatively new addition to PUBG Esports, being used by 55 Esports to head straight into the tunnels. They're going to try and clear it out, but there's a lot of angles to try and defend inside of here.
Yeah, it's not even the BRDM that's the problem. It's what RNZ has in his hand right now. That Panzer is just the nuclear option when it comes to pushing buildings. There's nothing you can do when it's brought your way. Now, Fixin, he's going to just prone inside the... I want to call it the chill out area, the lounge inside the mines itself by Los Leones, and you can tell that 55 are clearing this methodically, right? They're not leaving anyone... I think they spot the vehicle and they've said, right, this is fishy. We didn't bring that Murado in here, so there's definitely somewhere around. Now, Tater, who has been chilling this whole time inside Puerto Paraiso, might just be about to get extra points off AKA. They're going to go for the res inside the smoke, or at least threaten to do so. Tater's going to vault down. The smoke will cover his movement as he moves towards Zinni. Zinni's got to get this kill. If Tater gets this, it will be 5 kills they've gotten off AKA in this game. And Chunks, maybe even the possibility of bringing everybody back.
Flashbang lands down. He goes for the spray, keeping that pressure on. Disney is going to be forced to get that revive sooner rather than later. Mirror will fall as RNZ got the kill with the pan. It's a 1 versus 1 to keep their team in the running. Deployable shield goes down as Tater pops the heal. But the Molotov in the hand of Disney is surely going to be able to connect. Tater pushes away, but flashbangs at the perfect time. Will get the read on where that player is. Both of them in a peak battle using that third person, keeping themselves covered until they decide to take the shot. Tater spots the head, but it's ring around the rosies, trying to spot each other out as AKA come out on top and survive. Team Fate falling in 15th position.
Phase 3, you've got time to get those tags, bring back your teammates with those blue chips, and you've got 4 points on... Where do they look? I think that it's just up to being a good teammate, throw everything in the trunk of a car and hope for the best as we look at the circle. Nice shift for 55, who did clear the inside of the mines. They picked up that kill with the Panzer. Tung Tung Sahura not too far away either, as they will grab the, the long shack, as people like to call it, the hot dog cut building, just overlooking the entrance to the mines. And for 55, really good defensive position. But what I do like about the mines is there are 3 exits, right? So you peek one exit, things look a little too hot. You can take one of the other 2 as we watch Must rotating past. They're going past fake Juventus as Jim will spot them in spot. Brandy's trying to get that first knock on the rotate. Will switch his attention over to KPN. But I think that Muzi, they're just about to get about... Oh, don't go in the mines, Muzi. Do not go in the mines. This could be a bad idea. I think this spot right here might just be your best point of access.
They yearn for the mines. It's the only place around here that actually has some kind of cover. As Juventus try and land the sprays onto potentially dangerous Brandy, find a little bit of damage, goes the pre-nade, knows that PD are going to face a little bit of trouble getting over these hills, but not able to connect in the end. Juventus being careful, needs to be even more cautious of that shack above as, yeah, it was bound to happen. They've sent it over to the cave as KPN throws out a nade. It should be able to find a little bit more damage onto the BRDM, but Karak is still going to be safe inside of it for the time being. Glock on the team of Potentially Dangerous does take out Pesadelo. There's more teams now starting to rotate through. It's Team Queso. They're going to be sending it in and might just go for the same position.
Yeah, Tony elsewhere gets that knock on to Mimic as Potentially Dangerous, who had a brilliant weekend. Oh no, where are you going, Team Queso? Another team sending it in for the Nines, and this time it's Axmeyer. As we jump back to that Mimic fight with PD, but it looks like a third party from Brandy's is fit to get that second knock, and it could be points on the board. Good nade tossed out, but just not cooked quite enough. Maybe he's going to back up on top of it, but at this point in time, Team KZito in a ton of trouble. Bran, Logan, Angel, and Axmeyer. It's essentially a full reset for Team KZito here, Chunks. Usually it was, you know, we had all of our Game of Thrones references. Now it's just Bran.
Yep. As Team KZito trying to reset this fight a little bit now. I wouldn't say that this shack is the best position to try and play, but honestly, it's better than trying to push on to 55 Esports. The nade comes over from Pesadelo over towards 4-0, who tried to make their crash into the zone. Mimic will fall out in 13th position after facing some real trouble from Potentially Dangerous. As MHP tries to send it in, will be able to find a player, but not before Carlos lands the P90 shot. Infinite gets the trade, but Carlos with only 9 bullets left. He needs to hit the reload, tries to push out. He ends up getting blocked by the down player. 2 bullets left in the clip. It's not going to be enough to find the knock. He finds a lot of damage, but it's not to be. Sweezy gets 1 in return, will be able to flush it out. There's Juventus now. They're not even going to attempt to retake this position. They just move back, but need to be careful of DZ sneaking up behind.
Yeah, I think it's not going well for Juventus now. You've got Brandeis getting close to Zenny, who did get all of AKA back on their feet, by the way. They've dropped north and got themselves a great spot in the circle. Jimu should be dealt with now, but no, he managed to get a first knock and a second. Jimu, you've got 2 more to deal with. There's the third. There's surely no way he's going to reload. They know where he is, but he didn't get the... He didn't get the reload finished in time, and for nothing are eliminated, but what a clip that could have been for Jimu.
If he had peaked just half a second later, it would have been good, but as soon as you heard that click, you almost knew he was doomed. AKA, look at this, 31 bullets, but they've got 4 players back up now. I'm not sure where they even looted in the end. It looks like the rest of the squad have actually landed over at the silos, over on the far west of the circle. But DZ going to have a little bit of trouble trying to take this fight. Has to hit every shot, because he's only got a VSS in reserve, which, I mean, if you guys have played arcade mode anytime recently, you know just how frustrating it is to play against at close range when you got it on that full auto. But Brandy now goes for the peek and gets caught off guard. Nicely done, and should be able to find some loot.
Yeah, needs ammo. With the VSS, though, Chunks, at PAS at the weekend, we had a lot of hero VSS plays since that DMR nerf, but a lot of players still electing to switch with the MK and the Mini in situations from long range. Zenny, though, he's in a rough spot. He's got Dunks Gaming looking to wrap around one side on his position. Looking elsewhere, though, here is Mula Systematica as they start tossing nades down off into the ether, but nobody is there to accept his delivery. So... look up above, by the way. You got that Lynxon right on cue. Carpe Diem gets the knock on Zenny. We'll be able to flush that one out as now we watch Coyote rotating in. Dunks Gaming will be sent out of the lobby as well as they get dunked on by Mod. Or should I say they get mogged on in that position. But now there's just 8 teams left alive. 30 players, and most of the players are in and around mines.
Carpe Diem, 1 bullet left in that Lynx. Zig goes for a questionable peek down on low HP, and it's actually going to be Zyko from Dots with the third party from range, able to get the knock. Sonics, KPM, the 2 final players left up now. It's Carpe Diem, he's dropped the Lynx, but he's going for a 6x M4 spray, which credit to him, just trying to find damage through the smokes. Team Queso needs to be careful because 55, they're now starting to make the move out of the mines, and I don't think 55 have any idea about Axmeyer's position now.
Peepa falls on Axmeyer. Another one for Axmeyer to get the double over on the other side. 55 getting torn asunder, but Psycho will find a knock of his own. But Axmeyer with the third one, and Kerak falls. Team KZito, the guardians of the gate, as 55 couldn't get out, won't get out, and the only out that they've found is out inside the lobby, as they will have to wait for the next map. We've got 7 teams left alive, 25 players, and now Panadorito from Mogos Enachon is looking to do some work as the last player standing for his side.
Tung Sahur trying to make it out of this as Necro, the final player, takes Pandorito down to extremely low health. The underhand nade going to be a little bit far away from Necro as he just tries to find the flush. Faraz is the one to finish off the job, though, as Tung Sahur will find themselves in the top 6. As Musi now getting ready to defend against Team Casito, the team who just held out 55 Esports, but Zig just exposed himself a little bit early, and Bran going to be able to pick up the dog.
KPN now the last player up for his side. After Team Casito wiped out 55, Logan has gone straight to work in repairing that BRDM. The rest of the team are just laying in wait, but it looks like KPN might just get this res off, and because there's no pressure from OMG just above, Team Casito can fully focus on this fight at this point in time now. Mula Systematica do manage to get both players back up on their feet, but Bran is going for the high ground. He's climbing the tower now. Bran, way back in Season 1, climbed the tower and fell to his demise, and it looks like the same thing is going to happen right now, but unlike Bran, who was able to keep on living and say, although be less mobile, Bran will be completely immobile for the rest of the game. Takamura jumping back into it. Great nade thrown over to Necro as Tung Sahur are under some pressure.
Barry picked up a Lynx of his own. Will be able to take out Ting. Smula with only one player left up. KPM holding the rocks for cover. The emergency cover also down will provide a little bit of an extra safety net, but Team Casito don't have to move right now. Everyone seems to be in position, and I just want to point out Valier, he's positioned on a mortar right now, and you've got to think that if not a team that's down here at the bottom, it's going to be heading up towards OMG.
Yeah, you can go for OMG in the high ground, or you can go for Team Casito on the entrance to the mine, and I think that Valiant will probably send them up higher because OMG will likely be the bigger problem for them as we get later inside the game. That's a good flash grenade thrown towards Erangel, but KPN is just in no rush just yet to push in. I see a problem here starting to arise up on the top of this one as Tung Sahur and OMG are starting to peak this way, and Chunks, that's not a good shift for either of these two teams.
Certainly isn't. The BRDM could help, but it's already down to half health. They will be able to finish off KPN. So OMG, we haven't spoken about them too much this game, but they've managed to get themselves 7 kills on the board already and could be in a really good position to actually make this rotate. They have the high ground to work with. It's really Tung Sahur that need to be careful of teams rotating in down to the south, as AKA that team who were down to solo earlier did get recalled. They've all managed to get themselves looted up. Badilol sending it up the hill. Does he have any idea about these players? Nanu's just sitting behind the car, playing low. Danshin takes down another. That's 2 knocks found onto Dots as Valiant and Shane, the final 2 players left up, still need to try and navigate Gladiator. He tries to find the kill, but he's going to be getting third party by Saitam as we make it into the top 4.
Yeah, Saitam got a kill onto AKA there as well, but I think the Dots should be able to get the reses off now as Team Casito begin moving their way inside the circle. OMG, they'll just continue to wrap north, but as it stands, Tung Sahur with the only compound in the circle, but the problem is they are all together inside one building. That frees up an avenue of entry for the likes of OMG. Now, by this chimney stack, Faraz has a lot of work to do, and hey, look, F-Ting doing exactly what you need to do when you spot a BRDM. Just keep shooting it, get a lot of damage done, eventually it will blow up.
Again, it was already down to half health, and it's got 3 players inside of it. If a team is able to blow it up, and yeah, they can see the smoke coming off of it, so everyone's starting to focus, it could do a lot of damage, especially with that Lynx finding damage onto Logan. That could be the end of him if one more bullet lands, or if a Panzer comes anywhere near, who knows what could happen. Logan will jump out, go for the heal, as the rest of his squad opt to stay inside, using that third person to keep an eye up the hill, but you got to imagine Tung Sahur almost going to prevent the push for the time being.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Dots can't push Casito without Tung Sahur fighting them, and Tung Sahur can't fight them without being pushed by Dots, so this little gap that Team Casito have found themselves in will just about buy them a little time. Now, it looks like they have wrapped all the way around and put everybody inside the 2-stack, which will give them a bit of hard cover for now. But for Dots, they've got to make their move. And as you can see, up towards the north, it is open ground. Is that... It's not. They need to send it into that exact same depth that Team Casino just run, or else full crash this compound.
Team Casino set themselves up nicely to defend, but it's going to be hard to push. I'm not sure how much info they have about the Tung Tung Sahul players that are actually standing. 3 of them at the moment. Just trying to get a read on where Dots are moving. They are going to go for the crash in the end as Farage tries to land a bolt shot. It doesn't work out for him. A little bit of damage being found onto Valiate, but Farage with that nade could potentially finish off the job. Takes down 2 with it. Valiate and Shane Doe both being eliminated as Zico getting caught out with the spray. Only Batty left up. He's inside the building as the vehicles start to blow. That should be the end of Dots. We'll see what Batty's able to do, but he is now going to come under pressure from OMG as they work their way into the compound.
Oh, I think they were sending it up an SOS there as Dots got dashed out of the lobby. It's all but Batty now left for them, and they've got to put in the work. Every single team now in the center of the circle, which will go all the way to Phase 9, Chunks, because it's finishing inside a compound where every team is hanging on to a building. Now, that's a nice gift for F-Ting. He's going to say thank you very much for that crate that has landed right on top of me. That'll help me get whatever I need to ensure victory from this point on. But you feel like Tung Tung Sahur still are the team with the best position in the circle, but OMG have got strength in numbers.
Great. Sure, it might have been down for a little bit. It might not have a huge amount of loot, but there's some damage 3 gear on the head of Ting. Well, it's that little bit of extra cover, which in circles like this can be also important. Angel is just going to sit inside of the BRDM, because why wouldn't you? You've already got players holding the buildings. Maybe just try and catch someone off guard. Smokes will start to come through from OMG. Maybe a little bit early, in my opinion. That zone is now creeping through. Takamura gets ready for some smokes of his own, throwing him off to the side as the emergency cover comes down. OMG just getting ready to push in slowly but securely.
Yeah. Angel can actually sit in that BRDM and feed information. Like, he is essentially scouting that ridgeline for his team without moving. Now, that nade will do a little bit of damage, but for Team KZito, they're going to get on the move now. They're going to wrap around the other side, bring the fight to Faraz, and that means that OMG will push towards Tung Tung Sahur first. So what they're trying to do is make sure that they're not the team that's the filling inside the sandwich. Now, Faraz needs to make a decision. Do you try to catch the solo player, or do you fall back? And look at this, Chunks. OMG are trying to make almost the identical wrap as they make their way around. Takamura getting tons of information here.
This has worked out perfectly for Tung Tung Sahur as they manage to get back inside of the building. Sure, they're surrounded from all sides, but you've got to think that OMG are almost going to prevent the push from Team Casito right now. They do opt to move back, which could provide Team Casito that slight opening as Logan, he was run out in the blue, will be getting spotted out by Loki. Kill is stolen away by Ting as OMG trying to finish off that final Dots player in the form of Badilor. The nade will do the job. So we now make it into the top 3. Loki just using that high ground, trying to get a read. Will be able to spot out one, but Axmeyer with a massive nade.
Yeah, 2 for the price of 1. There's just a 2v2v3 now. Faraz will take a ton of damage, but the blue zone is at their back. Satan looking to hold it. The window's going to be in the blue in a few seconds. That will give even less avenues for Team Kazito to push from. Another nade, another 27 damage as Axmeyer will get another headshot. Just crouched on the door, holding Tung Tung Sahur as they look to leave a double blue zone. Will find Saitam, and all of a sudden it looks like it's a shootout between Team Kazito and Tung Tung Sahur.
Loki's got a jammer pack, though. This could be huge if it hasn't already been used. He could sit out in the blue for a minute or two without giving his position away, but opts to get the kill onto Axmeyer instead. There is going to be a player inside that BRDM, so he focuses the flush. Not even going for the BRDM. They are just waiting for that player to be forced out. There's a little bit of a hill. Angel might end up falling to the blue, but he's going to try and run them over anyway. Spinning round in circles, but the BRDM just too much health. It's going to become a bit of a med battle. Angel's out in the blue, but he's got a jammer pack of his own, able to take down Loki, but the double barrel finishes off the job, and it's Tung Tung Sahul that get the win.
That was so close. in the end, but Tung Tung Sahura will take the win. 33 minutes as we went all the way to center point. And it's a 20-point win for Tung Tung Sahura, who took the compound relatively early and converted it into a win. Chunks, they'll not complain. It's points on the board for them. But had they lost to a solo player in the BRDM, it might have been a tad annoyed.
Yeah, you would have seen people complain about it for sure. The BRDM is one of those where, when it's used properly, can be so effective. But we saw earlier on one of those BRDMs smoking and just how low it was. I'm surprised that it wasn't blown up sooner, but that was a messy game from start to finish. A load of early game fighting and then a very messy circle. Everyone was fighting for the mines, it felt like, but when the time came, they had to shift off, and it was Team Casito who were able to hold teams out and make their rotation out and ultimately make it into the top two off of that.
Yeah, we're getting deeper into the highlights here as well. This is where Axmeyer went absolutely nuclear here, gets himself 2. Then there's the third. Axmeyer, I'd be interested to see his stats, because it felt like he was farming damage inside the lobby in that game, and for Team KZito was a big part of their success. There's the big nade on the dots as they were pushing in, but Chunks, if the rest of the night is anything like this one, we're in for a bit of a crazy finish.
Absolutely. All of the top teams that we picked out coming into tonight, I mean, just look at how they performed. We got Mira, we got Bestia, we got so many squads that we thought would have been able to perform better, but in game one, it just didn't go their way, going out early. 55 Esports even, sure, they made it to like that mid-game, but only able to get 2 points out of the game, and that was just based on kills. It was teams that we maybe weren't expecting a lot out of that have taken the lead tonight. Well, with 3 matches remaining this evening, we'll see if things go back to the status quo, where they can keep up this momentum.
Yeah, remember, this match leaderboard is also the final leaderboard at this point in time, with just 1 game played. So Tung Tung Sahura on 20, oh my god, on 15, Team KZito on 14, and then AKA and For Nothing round out your top 5 with 7 points each. Remember, the top 4 after tomorrow will join in already qualified 8 as we move towards the final Masters of the year, which will be between North America, South America, and EMEA. Well, Chunks, I reckon we jump into a very quick break. When we come back, it will be the second game of the night. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
What I love about these events, like the PUBG Hot Drop 2025 that we just had, is simply just meeting all of these amazing people.
PUBG for putting on this amazing event. It's been so much fun. It's been so great getting to chat to the devs, getting to see everyone playing games and having so much fun. Thanks to all the team that's put it together.
It's great to be here. I can only say to other PUBG players, come here next year.
for chicken.
New boss.
Captain Crispy.
Down. Fat Cap still alive. Just eviscerate the team just like that. They have taken the game.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Hope you're ready, because we're not giving you any time to get back from that break. We're straight into the action here with our second game of the night. It is Taego, our second of 4. Tung Tung Sahura won game number 1, if you're just joining us now, with a good 10-kill victory. But Chunks, a lot of the big names, and I'm talking Mira, 55, Bestia, even potentially Dangerous, not really getting off the mark in the first game of the night.
No, really, really disappointing for them to start out, but I guess we just cast a curse at them, so we will see if things can change. But I think those teams that have maybe come into the lobby that we aren't super familiar with, we have seen Tung Tung Sahur before, but teams like Dots even making it to the late game. Team Casito are a team that, yeah, they've had good performances, but they've never really been able to chain them together super well. They're going to be an interesting one to watch going forward tonight. But you said it is Taego time. We will see how things unfold, because at least early on in the Players Tour, Taego was always the messiest map, and oh my god, with a circle like that, it's going to happen again, isn't it?
I hope so. OMG have a decision to make. Do you stick on Twist and Shipyard, or do you pull out to one of the compounds up by the rest of the recall system? Now, if I was them, I actually wouldn't be against playing right here, because you're not going to be too far away to any circles that we should get. Like, if it goes over towards the west, you can just take the bridge over, because you'll still have first a good idea if anyone's there. But by controlling that recall system, it gives you the ability to lose players in a fight. Like, even if you get crashed and you lose 1 or 2 but still win, you can get your teammates back straight away. So I think that would make that position up on the hill a bit more powerful. Paddy, this is not really what you want at the start of the game, as you're getting hunted by a Panzer and Psycho. You know what actually happened there? Pipa was sitting right beside him inside the UAZ in the back seat, and the backfire of the Panzer got the knock on to Pipa.
Yeah, I think it's something a lot of people forget about with the Panzer, isn't it? Especially when you're leaning out of the vehicle like that. But 55, they will be able to get the revive. They do need to bear that in mind. If he goes down again, he will bleed slightly quicker. But hopefully for 55, that will not be something that they have to worry about, because they're in a decent position already. They can get their rotation early on with Fishing Camp, but they do need to be careful. Obviously, Fate and Mirror up to the northeast of them. It actually looks like Haven is going to be using an emergency pickup very early on, so looking to try and scout in before the rest of his team make their vehicle rotates. I say that, but Fana, he's already coming under fire from Carpe Diem.
Yeah, Fana's a lot deeper inside the circle. He's securing a spot. The rest of the team will probably pick up or drive in. Elsewhere, aka they've called in an pickup, as they will look to move inside the circle. Now, a lot of teams looking to just move as quick as possible. But while we're talking about that, Axmeyer has got himself into a tricky situation. He knows that I think that Dunk know he's here. The question is, can he take anybody down and give his team a chance to get something on the board? Falcon is spotted him. He whips the nade out. He's going to jump on over. There's the shot with the S686. And the trade is going to be there, but it's a little bit late. Brandon will get that knock on to Falcon, but do Team KZito decide to crash this, Chunks? I don't know. Like, I'm looking at the map and they're a little bit spread out to push before that res can come off.
I feel like Bran is just going to try and look for a re-knock here, maybe try and find a bit more damage, and yeah, if he gets the re-knock, maybe finds a second, then they commit onto it. But right now, they just send a player down to the south, and he just got his head cracked down to 1 HP, so maybe Team Casito are going to reevaluate this crash.
Yeah, I think that with all 4 players back up and Bran only having a level 1 helmet, I don't think it's the right thing to do. Now, what you can do is wait for Dunk's gaming to leave, and then consider going back to get the blue chips. Get your teammate back into the fight in a little while's time. Dunks, they have a decision to make. Do you pick it up and destroy it? But for now, Team KZito, they are going to bail and get on out of there. Chunks the 30 pickup, by the way, as FN are going to make their way in from all the way down in Songam, finishing off that flight path up by Shipyard.
It's all well and good using the EPs, but we do have to bear in mind as well that that kind of denies your vehicles later on in the game, so you really need to try and get a power position, focus on those vehicles, and with so many teams using EPs, they're going to be in a similar boat where they're trying to pick up those cars early on, and you could find yourself potentially stranded when we get to Phase 3, Phase 4, especially with how mountainous this terrain is. A lot of teams are going to be going for the high ground. If this shifts over to the east, they then have to run down a completely open hillside with next to nothing to provide them safety.
Up inside the air, and the glider will be Gabri from Potentially Dangerous, as he will get to work scouting out for his team, working out if there's anywhere worth playing for this team, who, if you did miss the action at the weekend, were phenomenal on day 2 of PIS. They got well up over the 100-point mark. They qualified straight through to the grand finals. It's a roster with, as I always say, a very high ceiling, but finally look like they're raising up that floor, and their bad games, they're managing to get a couple of points on us. So keep an eye on potentially dangerous over the course of tonight, because I see good things coming for this roster.
Definitely. I mean, we saw signs of life in them early in the last game. It was just one of those situations where they made a push into a risky position, and that's kind of what you get when you get circles like that on Miramar. It is very open. There are very few ridges and compounds that you're able to play towards the late game. I think a lot of teams would have kind of expected the circle to shift up to the northeast, you know, where that little T-junction is in the road. That's where we see a lot of games end, as Infinite, well, it might be the end of him if he gets spotted out in mid-air, and he does. Carpe Diem will be able to finish off the job as the rest of 4-0 do try and send it down. They're going to quickly turn away and reevaluate their options, but again, so many teams have used EPs. All the compounds in the center are already taken. It's inverse donut time, Gibson.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that they went for that compound. Like, that's a high traffic area. You're bound to know that it's likely taken. You lose one, and now you're forced to play the rest of the game as a 3 because you're never getting that tag back. So for, you know, I'm not going to complain. If you're OMG, it's a free point on the board with no real risk in that situation. Mog, they're making their way inside the circle now as well, as it looks like Nidavon. He realizes they're coming, and this could be a point delivery. The UAZ is there. The Panzer doesn't get the kill, but Glock certainly does. And Mog will lose one. Panadorito will get off and moving, but PD, point on the board for them. Trap successfully set.
Nice Avon. Some nice DMR shots. Trying to land onto Zevo. Not going to be able to finish off the job as the vehicle nearly gets flooded. We'll keep it in the mix as Mog are now going to move back down to the south. Probably try and re-enter over the hill onto the road and go a little bit more central. Gabri's already got proactive. He's moved far down to the southwest, so could potentially be trying to cut them off when they make that rotation.
Yeah, and this is a great road to hold as well, because all the traffic from the southwest will likely pull up from this section of the map as they move in. And I think that if you're 55, if you know PD's drop spot, you're probably thinking, yeah, maybe we don't want to go there, as Gabri will keep an eye on Panadorito and the rest of Mog as he turns off the engine. Make sure to keep the fuel, because he's just about 30% of his full fuel load for the rest of the game. But Chunks, look how much free real estate there is in the map. Everything, essentially, from where Gabri is right now, all the way to airport, is completely vacant.
Yeah, I think most teams have banked on it going to the north. You never want to be in that situation where Phase 2 shifts even harder up to the north and then very limited land is still playable. And I think that's why we've seen so many commit over there earlier. On the other side of things, though, fairly central to the circle, we do have Team Fate. Tater is looking over towards Team Mirror, but hasn't got anything decisive on it yet. He knows the compound is taken, but not quite in a position to engage onto this, and the rest of his team are a little bit split off to the south. So Tater, in a bold position, could find himself being punished if teams rotate in from the east.
Another E-pickup here as, well, Mula will make their way in. Shots being fired as Zinni and the rest of AKA look to take advantage. Lost is trying to get to the ground as soon as possible. One more shot will do it, and Zinni finds it. Limuzi will lose one as Mula go down. AKA another point on the board for them. And I think that it's another team just trying to take a spot that, you know what, I'm going to give them a little bit more credit, because it's very unlikely that someone would be in that position. But we spoke about OMG, Chunks. Instead of taking the recall system on top of the hill, they've gone for a 2-2 split with 2 players just south of Shipyard, the other 2 a bit further away. That circle shift would tell me that you want to bring the rest of the team down to play as a 4. Because, yes, this is... I want to point this out for the viewers at home. This river does not class as unplayable terrain. So if Phase 4 goes there, it can end up anywhere around here. So you can't just all bet on one side of the circle now based on Erangel physics, because Taego, it's a lot different.
This is an interesting shift, I think. Because so many teams did bank up to the north, there is a lot of playable area down on the south that teams are going to try and work with. But again, compounds are limited, a lot of open space. Very similar to what we saw over on Miramar, but a huge amount of open terrain down the middle. And I would imagine that as we get to that late game, if that circle shifts down to the south, we're probably going to see a couple of the teams literally playing as trolls under the bridge, trying to ruin people's games as they rotate through, because there is just nothing to work with if you're late into this circle, and so many teams are getting proactive here. Even teams that were already in zone, look at AKA, they're actually making a far eastern rotate. They're going to look to try and move in either from the east or from the south instead.
Yeah, I'm looking now elsewhere around the circle at things that could happen, and you know, like Juventus, they're making their way in from that south. They'll look to cross that bridge in a little while. They'll find relatively no resistance as they make their way in. Mira, they've got a 2-2 split in the middle of a red zone, but we'll keep an eye on Gabri. He finally had to land at that glider. It ran out of fuel eventually, and at some point, Chunks, he'll hope that either Tony or Nidavon will come pick him up.
Team Mira in that red zone. Now, this is something that we spoke about when it got added, didn't we? We were like, are we going to see it make much of an effect? I'm yet to see anyone get taken out by the red zone, and I want to see it. And I know that that's cruel of me, but I just want to see it actually have an effect. As right now, it feels like, yeah, teams are going to hunker down. They're going to stay in their compound. But Bran, he's doing the opposite. He is making some noise, making his position known, and trying to bring that final teammate back into the lobby.
I do want to say this, though. Like, I was casting when Denmark got absolutely obliterated by a red zone. So I've seen some kills from the red zone inside of comp, but on the Players Tour... Ah, because third person, you know, these players, they see it coming
easier, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. What?
55?
Yeah, I was about to say 55 making their way in.
Yeah, are they going to go for the crash onto this one? It certainly seems like it right now. Psycho, well, he goes for a crash, but not in the way that we were talking. Straight into the shack. Somebody had their map open at the time. Looks like they're actually going to head a little bit south for now. They don't want to take this fight. I think they know that game one was a little bit weak considering what they are used to, so they're going to reevaluate, probably play a little bit more steadily pace, but they need to be careful because potentially dangerous are waiting for them up to the north as they now make their rotate in. And Falcon is not taking the shot, and he is now potentially missed out on the kill as Bran in the vehicle will continue moving away.
Yeah, he'll move, but we'll keep an eye now, and potentially dangerous as 55 are coming this way. 4x spray from Tony does a ton of damage onto everybody, but not enough damage onto anyone, as Kerak will get a knock on a Nidavon. That might just be a signal. Now, Kerak will get treated back as Gabri from inside the blue did find that knock, but 55 looks like they are just going to abandon Kerak. Inside the blue, not much he can do, but the rest of the team are pushing up to where they found that knock onto PD. 55 looking to lock in on this fight, and Chunks, I don't think Tony is anyways aware at all that 55 are so close. Glock is going to have to be that early signal as he sprays off the fire, and a Panzer is wasted.
Doesn't quite connect. It's so dangerous at close range, but hard to line up from distance. Pippa will be able to take down Glock as the smokes go down. They're not fully aware where 55 Esports have their players. They will try and sweep around. Obviously not going to be in this open plateau. Nade lands through, but it isn't going to be enough to connect. The second one seems a little bit closer, but Nitavon has been able to pop the med kit, get back up to full health. So Gabri needs to try and close in to support his team.
Yeah, Psycho moving around, but I think that for potentially dangerous, having found an early kill and getting an extra one, they're in a bit of a dodgy spot now. Now, 55, they're going to keep on moving because Phase 3 Blue will start closing in a few moments' time. That circle shift did actually work out pretty nicely for Mira a little while ago as they get sent through the circle with that 2-2 split. And you know what I love about it? Is I love the fact that they're still holding the 2-2 despite the fact that we're inside Phase 3, Phase 4, and a lot of teams would love either of these positions.
Gabri will be getting taken out, so not going to be able to support with the defense of the position. It's the rest of PD now in the blue with a decent area to try and close up to make it into the circle. They have got a vehicle, so they will try and disengage. as 55 do the same. A lot of these teams down on the southwest are going to be playing, again, for a very limited amount of space. Pippa will be taken out on the seat swap, as 55 will look to try and get the revive. It doesn't look like DG want to commit onto this, so Pippa should be safe for the time being, but Team Casito, they do get caught out by Nightavon. As Logan returns the fire, will be able to get himself the knock, but he's the only player left standing now for Team Casito. Going to use the tree for cover. Lands the spray. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, that's just potentially dangerous, showing what they can do on any given Monday. And Nightavon will be brought back on his feet now. We'll have to bandage pretty quickly because phase 3 will tick him down quick. So it's bandage, get a first aid off, then get inside the circle because you've got a long ways to go. And once it hits phase 4, it becomes even more of a problem. Now Haven from Mira up on top of the hill. Remember this 2-2 split? Peeking over. And they're going to hear that call back as somehow it looks like Mula were able to pick up that blue chip and they'll try to bring a 4th player back.
DraftKings bringing that BRDM back into the game. As Bestia have just been given a really good zone to try and work with. They're going to be able to take this compound as they continue to rock the split. I love this from DraftKings. He just keeps hopping in and out of the BRDM. Hops out, takes some shots, does some damage. Oh, they've spotted me. Let's hop back in. Tony will fall to the blue as potentially dangerous. Still a long way away from getting into the zone. Only Nightavon's left up as Carlos tries to land shots onto 55 Esports. It is just not to be. Juventus with 2 kills on the borders. Well, for nothing, they just find themselves 3, make it 4 potentially, as Quinn is the final player left up. Sweezy going to be attempting to defend. Flashbang goes out the window, going to use that to try and make the peak, but he's on the other side of the wall. It doesn't matter, never mind. Quinn takes down Shando as Dots look to try and get involved onto this.
Yeah, right, Sweezy, you cannot lose that. MHP thankfully doesn't, but you jump on over the ridge. You gotta be pre-firing when you go around the corner when you have that information, and now you've been dealt with by Lowly from Mog. A little bit of a mix-up in decision-making has led to an opportunity for Moggles and Axion to pick up that kill, and now that is another player fallen. 45 left alive, 14 teams up as Mira finally consolidate their position, all 4 playing together, and Chunks, at this moment in time, not a single player within 100 meters of the center of the circle.
It's easy pickings in a way, but it's to actually get to the center is going to be the real difficult part. There are compounds free over on the west of the circle, which I'd say is a little bit surprising given how powerful they are. Maybe teams just assuming that the positions are already taken. As Faraz tries to land some shots, will be getting third party by Zico, drops down prone as Firefighter takes down Brandy. Falcon eliminating Psycho, immediately gets the flush to go with it. As Team Mirror up on high, spotting everyone out, but their cover is limited. It's sporadic at best, no real hard cover to work with, but so much intel being gathered by them.
Yeah, and not taking shots off in the distance, even though you've got full information on Dunk over at the edge. It's just a waste of ammunition. Just keep that information for the back pocket. Use it later on inside the game. Erangel, though, he's getting pushed now. This could be the end of his map. He steps on out. He will get a knock, but it is all for naught. He might get a second one. It's actually Coyote's own Molly that is going to take him down. And, well, that was a series of unfortunate events for Dunk, as Firefighter from Fates is able to pick up that kill. Firefight, of course, always inside Twitch chat, no matter what PUBG event it is, so it's nice to see him inside the server. You know, I think I casted Firefighter in scrims way back in the day. Every single night of the week. Used to be there every single night of the week, and I've not seen him apart from being in chat for a while, so it's nice to get to cast him again.
Yeah, it's always good seeing those names that have been around for a while showing up here in the Players Tour, as Lowly will be eliminated. That's going to be Mog down in 13th. Zico will get eliminated by the zone as Dots. They were really far off to the north. They are just not having a good time trying to make it in. I think Valiant's out in the blue, and we saw early on in the tour just what he's able to do out of that, but for the time being, we'll hop on board with Team Mirror as Fana gets knocked by Sonics. They're trying to take a fight on two fronts right now. GMO will go down as Haven lines up the nade over onto MPX. Surely that's going to be enough, and yes it is. For nothing will fall out in 12th as Team Mirror now try and refocus their attention, but with only 2 players left to try and defend this position.
Yeah, Haven in a tough spot. Mira, we said they're not really having the best night possible, and they're one of the teams that need to get inside the top 4. Haven gets that knock on to Sonics now, as he'll get the rest of the push from Mula. Another push on over as they try to get that res off. The Tommy gun from Lost is the weapon of choice, but is it going to be the right one? Haven and LFP need to hold their spot here with the blue zone at their back. You win this fight here, Chunks, you give yourself free avenue and access into the circle, and you get all the loot from that crate drop. So this, even though Mira have lost one, this is by no means over for them yet, and it also works vice versa.
Haven still holding. They were able to get the revive. LFP preps a nade. It's close, but just a little bit short to connect as Team Mirror slowly withdrawing from this one. Relying on Haven, watching from the west, trying to get some angles, trying to get some info. It's LFP just trying to take the peak, but he's not been able to just yet. Haven's made the call. Spray goes down. KPN will fall to the headshot. Moss goes to the spray through the smoke. Finds a lot of damage, but it's not going to be enough to get the kill. The third person being used, just trying to gather some info over the top. As Zig sneaks up. He knows that Haven is around this area, and he's able to come out on top with only 3 health. The jammer pack saving him from the blue, but not saving him from Fana as he finds the headshot. It's down to just 1 player left up from Musson. Yeah, Mirror, they clean it up. 7 kills on the board, but only 2 players standing and no chance of getting them back into the game.
Yeah, 7 points on the board, though, and maybe more. Remember, it's not the top 8 that get points, it's the top 6, as there's a little bit of adjustment inside of TPP. Now Takamura, he's going to step on out to try to hold Loki on the edge of the circle, but Tung Tung Sahura off the back of a win in game number 1 are looking to make something happen, but Takamura's nade is perfect, and then he sprays Mimi down. And that is the end of Tung Tung Sahura here on Taego. 8 teams left alive now as Doom and Fate are going to battle. Firefighter wraps around the edge. The nade doesn't quite get inside the door, but the off angle's going to work. He gets the knock on to Brandy and is going to instantly put a timer on him. Brandy's nade falls on top of himself, and this is a great push from Team Fate. A couple of elbow shots, a couple of knee shots. Yes, it's a P90 on the other side, but Tater should win this. And guess what? Tater does.
Will be able to pop the heel. 6 kills on the board for Team Fate now. An impressive performance from them, but they have a hell of a cross to try and make into the circle. We've still got a couple of players already in. As now Nightavon preps himself a nade. This could be really well placed onto OMG. They're lined up perfectly, and he finds 2, flushes 1 out, immediately confirming the point, making it 5 on the board, about to be 6 as Phase 6 gets ready to move, and PD are in a really good position, even as a solo. Now it's all about keeping his head down, defending this position, and letting other teams deal with each other.
Yeah, there's 6 teams left alive. The placement point window is now open, aka on the northern side of the circle, still with a lot of presence, but don't rule out Valiant having something to say if he, in the end of this game, as he pushes through the blue. Full information for Takamura. He's going to step up. Takamura, you got to hit those. Nanu is going to do a ton of damage, and Takamura is going to be in a ton of trouble. He's wiped out by Firefighter from Fate, but that was a bit of a whiff, and Valiant, he's going to whip out the VSS. He should find a knock in a few seconds' time, and he does. He gets the knock on to Zinni, will pop that first aid, and should be able to confirm this kill out. Yeah, not plenty.
He's got 18 first aids. This is such a Valiant play. 18 first aids, VSS. They're going to try and get the res onto DZ. The zone's closing in, though. I think they might just have to pick him up if he hasn't got a jammer pack. I don't think they're going to be able to get the heal. I think they're just assuming that Valiant has already gone down. But he's just spamming those first aids, and we've seen the threat that Valiant can be out in the blue over in those early weeks. And look, he's already made it into the top 5. AKA are focusing so much attention onto this. Gladiator's now gone down to the zone as well. DraftKings, yeah, he just got a run over kill with the BRDM as Bestia. They are going to quickly lose all the health on that, but it doesn't matter because Mime is there to trade out onto Verpal.
Yeah, shots being tagged on the side as Night of On will look to get a knock, but Mime is getting to work. It's getting close to prime time, and this is when Mime does his best work. Bestia using the vehicle for cover as the BRDM is pretty good at that task in particular, as Team Fate will get wiped. It's not quite a great game from Team Fate, but it's more points on the board, same as what they were able to pick up in game number 1 of the night. Dots will fall as well. Valiant managing to get inside the top 3 from inside the blue. You know what? Great play from him. Points on the board for Dots, but this game is Bestia's to lose. They've got 4 up. They've got complete control of the circle. They're holding a line across the middle, and there's not really much anyone else can do.
AKA gonna make their move in. A lot of damage being found from Mime, but it's not enough to find the kill. One of the players has crashed over to the rock, but he will be finished off. It's Dan Shin, and now it's a 4v1v1. No chance for AKA to try and get this revive. It's just about trying to get those knocks and the quick peaks and quickly confirming them into the flushes, salvaging any point that he can as Nightavon with the FAMAS lands the spray onto the BRDM, which by the way was already low. DraftKings will peek out as Mime catches him from the off angle. That's PD down in 3rd, but a very strong performance there from Nightavon to get so many kills onto the board with that top 3. But all the pressure is on Nanu, and with that zone closing in behind him, the nades landing through, it might be time to consider just denying the points.
I don't think he's going to deny. I think he's going to stay here as long as he can, but AKA, it's a valiant fight. It's plenty of points on the board for 2nd place, but primetime Mime, he don't mess about. DraftKings need is bang on the money, and Bestia pick up 16 points just like that, and that is the 2nd game of the day already done and dusted.
Good performance from Bestia. We spoke about it in game number 1, how they didn't quite deliver as we would have hoped, but they're starting to turn things around now, getting themselves the win, obviously on a slightly modified point system to what we're used to, but still getting themselves high up on the standings. Team Mirror also able to get a decent number of kills that game, but potentially dangerous. They're the one that you spoke about going into this one that really delivered better than expected.
Yeah, look, I wanted to see more from Bestia. Like, wasn't the best showing for them at the weekend in PAS groups, but what I want from a team like that is to find a level of consistency. Like, they're battling uphill. They've made roster changes. Yes, they're with the last few PGSs, but we've seen Falcons continue to improve as they always do. You know, Liquid are going to try to look a lot better going into PAS, so I want Bestia to use this couple of days as a platform to just continue to work. Yeah, that's lovely from DraftKings. But just continue to improve on what they do. And wins like that build confidence. And whether or not it's TPP or FPP, when you're winning maps, you feel good.
Exactly, and it's about that momentum a lot of the time. 16 points there for Bestia, which is in stark contrast to what we saw in that previous game. But 55 Esports, again, only able to get themselves 2 points. But I think the star of that game, honestly, has to be Nightavon, being able to get up to the top end of the placement and get so many kills on the board for the team when it really mattered. We saw that nade in the replay, just such an important player for PD that game, and that moves them up a lot higher on the overall leaderboard. 5th place overall as Bestia take 4th, but it's OMG, Tung Tung Sahur, and AKA that take the top 3 spot. Remember, only the top 4 are going to be able to qualify for that Masters.
Yeah, and you got to give OMG credit for how they played that game as well. You know, they got the circle phase 1, they were up by the docks, and they extended out with a 2-2 split in the road, and they just took kill after kill after kill after kill, dominating the lobby. Tung Tung Sahur looking pretty good as well. But if you look at that, you've got 2 teams into the 20s, aka Bestia and PD, all 16 plus. This looks like it could be a very good night of action. But Chunks, what I am a little disappointed in is Team Mira and Dots. Like, we know the players, we know the teams. Not like them to have so few points after 2 maps.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for them. Still plenty of games to go, and we've seen just how important a single game can be and just how dominant teams like Mira can be. You think about the 20-plus kill games they've had in previous weeks. One of those, that'll take them back up to first at the moment, but we've got a few minutes before our third game of the evening. Don't go anywhere. We will be back shortly.
About these events like the PUBG Hot Drop 2025 that we just had is simply just meeting all of these amazing people.
PUBG for putting on this amazing event. It's been so much fun. It's been so great getting to chat to the devs, getting to see everyone playing games and having so much fun. Thanks to all the team that's put it together.
It's great to be here. I can only say to other PUBG players, come here next year.
Chicken. New boss. Captain Crispy.
still alive. Just eviscerate the team just like that. They have taken the game.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
The back 9 of day 2 starts now with just Rondo and Erangel left to go. 2 maps left as we battle out to find out who will be the top 4 teams in this version of the PUBG Players Tour. And Chunks, why am I saying top 4 as opposed to the regular top 8?
Because we've already got 8 teams that have qualified through, haven't we? And we've still got this week and next week left for teams to be able to qualify. So yeah, only the top 4 teams are going to be going through. And I think the bonus to that is every team that qualifies is going to get a share of the prize pool.
Yeah, so everybody who qualifies gets a share of the prize pool. And then the top 16 overall, including the 8 who have qualified already, will battle it out to see who joins the top 8 teams in EMEA. And Chunks, we always get international events, right, where all the top teams globally compete. But it is so incredibly rare that we get to see a just EMEA Americas event. We all know that those are the 2 best regions inside of PUBG anyway. Coughs, not gonna pretend like, apart from Twisted Minds and Falcons, we've seen dominance from inside of APAC for a while. But But Chunks, it'll be nice to get bragging rights inside of the PUBG Players Cup for one of those regions.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to watch EMEA destroy Americas, but we'll leave that for a couple of weeks.
Chunks, get him out. Production, can we get Chunks banned?
I'm biased towards Americas. I think it's going to be a really interesting one to watch because obviously we only see... Oh, never mind, we see Carpe Diem get a knock onto Logan early on. It's Team Casiso going to be losing one. But I think it will be interesting because obviously when we go to those LAN events, those global events, it is like the cream of the crop that managed to qualify. There's only a handful of teams from each region that actually make it through. When we've got 8 teams from EMEA versus 8 teams from Americas, I think it adds a little bit of extra interest to it, where we're going to see teams that maybe we don't see at the global level, maybe throw a spanner in the works for a lot of squads. As Erangel, he tried to hide. He's got in the vehicle, but he wasn't able to get out of it in time. Lost will be able to find the knock as they find the kill to go with it. Team Casiso losing 2 early on. Did they grab the blue chip, though?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't see them taking the time, and to be honest, it's a good early first point for Mula. You know, we recognize a lot of the players. Like, I know Zig, I know Lost, I know Sonics. KPN is a little bit newer to me, but we've seen some nice things. But I think that Mula Systematica, like, they're a team that I think a lot of people are going to say need to do a lot of work if they want a chance to qualify, because they're just maybe not as well known as some of the other teams inside the lobby. But you just keep ticking along. You just keep having a good couple of days, and you never know what could happen at the end of this event. Flood, did you mean to park the vehicle there? Is it parked properly? Is it on site? Flood knows what he's doing.
Trust the process, Gibson. Trust the process. Flood knows what he's doing. He's been around the block. It's all calculated. Dunks Gaming. This is a team that we haven't seen too much out of. Relatively new to the Players Tour. I think we've only seen them take part in 1 week. And I think it was a fairly different roster to what we're seeing tonight. So it'll be interesting to see if they can pick things up going through this evening. Obviously, teams that we didn't expect to perform necessarily as well as they have are currently taking the top spots on the leaderboard. So it really shows that anyone is able to qualify for the Players Tour. Anyone stands a chance at getting through to the Masters. And just a reminder, if you want the opportunity to get involved in that Masters, you only have 1 week left to sign up by doing !register in chat. So make sure you get yourself involved, and you could potentially be playing against some of the best in not only Americas but also EMEA for a massive prize pool.
Yeah, remember, there's $140,000 was up for grabs in each region this year for the TPP circuit for the Americas and the EMEA. And I think that last Masters is going to have the largest prize pool total. So why not give yourself a chance to qualify for it, or even just give yourself a chance to play against teams like Falcons and see what you can do. Donk, though, as you said, they're getting a little bit better. You know, they're a team that we don't recognize as much. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that Lippy was Lil P for a while, and I was going to be like, oh, that's a fun name, but still not too bad to say. But I think Falcon, he's going to say, thank you very much, Carpe Diem. Well, it's all about living your life, as that's what that phrase means, but he's going to have to wait unless his team manages to win the battle and bring everybody back. But it looks like they're just going to... No, they're not going to be able. They got that knock onto Coyote, and that's going to give them the freedom to make this push.
Nice spray from Falcon, though, to be able to take down Ting, as Leapy looking out over towards those players, tries to catch him in a crossfire, but it doesn't quite work out. Focusing on popping the tires for the time being. Smoke will go down for a little bit of extra cover, but DG, if they've got some lethal util, it could be so dangerous as Takamura will fall. The BZ nade goes down. Not sure whether it's for the flush or whether for that final knock, but Satan is going to be moving around the side, spotted out by Yan. Spray comes through, and it's RNZ who finishes off the job, and it's OMG down in 16th position. Yant's nearly fallen as well.
Yeah, this has gone pretty bad, but I love the fact that 55 are bringing the third party in. They're aware of what's going on. They're upping the aggression. Now, I think that they would have liked a knock from RN0 there, another one, and they would have probably pushed in to try the third party, but Psycho's going to close the gap as well. Like, they're not necessarily... Chunks. All right, I thought for a second... No, they might still do it. I think that they're driving away with RN0 and leaving Psycho to bait them into thinking that nobody is still holding Overwatch.
It's a bold play, but if it works out, it could be massive for them. Mog trying to land the sprays onto Juventus as Brandy goes for the seat swap and ends up straight in the side of a cliff. Lowly will be able to find the flush onto that. Zevo found the knock. Looking out for more. Juventus continue to move away and should be able to get to relative safety, as Mog are now going to be in a really strong position going forward. And so many teams are dead center inside this circle. So much space for teams to rotate into, but I'm really surprised to see this engagement happening so far outside of the zone.
Yeah, and I'm sure Panadrito would have liked to be able to see more of that action as well, wishing he had a 4x or even a 6x instead of that 2x for the SLR spray. But it looks like Moguls, they've found a spot that they're happy with for at least now, as they wait and try to get some more loot, maybe get a kill on the way in, because you've got Juventus, you've got Dots, you've got Moguls, all wrapping in from this northern side. A little further south, it looks like AKA are actually going to push towards Tong Tung Sahur as well, and Mira are laying a trap here for FN as Jimu, come on, there you go, Haven and Fexen combined. That's a point on the board for Mira as well.
Takes in, looking out for Infinite now. Landing shots on the vehicle, but not on the player inside, which is what he's looking for. As For Nothing will adjust their rotation. Probably move further over to the west, as there is a huge amount of space there. But honestly, it looks like they're sending MHP further down to the east instead. So going to try and make a cross over the bridge to get into circle, potentially. Tung Sung Sahur, they finally made it into the zone, as they did lose a player. AKA will be giving chase, but not quite close enough to cause enough of a threat.
Yeah, Tung Tung Sahur currently sitting in second place after 2 games. Game number 1 was domination with 20 points on the board. Little bit calmer in game 2 as they weren't able to find the points that they would have wanted. But as they rotate into the circle from the west, they're finding lots of freedom. PD, they've set up this trap as well. This is on the south side of the circle, just north of Tin Long Garden, as they wait for anybody to potentially push their way past the dirt road. And Tony is thinking to himself, well, if there's one car, usually there's a second. So he's waiting to see if anybody else is going to follow him down that path. Now, we know that Falcon ain't too far away, but we also know that PD should be free and at least, I suppose, safe for a while, with only really Tung Tung Sahur in their region from the south. I don't expect to see Team KZ to rotate up here anytime soon. Like, they're in a good spot for now.
Team Mirror trying to make some spots up to the north, but it's going to be MHP that finds the damage onto Fakesin, forcing him to unpeak. So For Nothing being very cautious about approaching this one. Sure, they're keeping a player anchoring. He is a little bit exposed, but ultimately he's applying pressure. It's allowing For Nothing to try and get a bit of a better read on where those Team Mirror players are, but PD, they have the read on this beautifully. Double Panzer lined up. No shots are being taken. That one will. Finds the knock onto Mimi as Glock tries to find one of his own. Down goes the second. Tung Tung Sahur, Necro is running away, trying to get behind the ridge. Will just about get some form of cover, but look at this. PD, they've got another player, sending it over right away. Night of On is going to try and catch this player off guard.
Yeah, second kill now for PD as they get to work, and now they're chasing a third as, well, Tung Tung Sahur's last player standing tosses the flash. Night of On's got his bit away. He's going to hit that prone, and Gabri is there. Gets the trade, and down he falls. Another kill on the board for PD as they migrate north inside the circle. Circle shifted up towards Danqing and Tuling. I hope that we see Danqing inside Danqing at some point, just for how fun that will be to say in a little while's time. But 14 teams still alive here, Chunks. It's been a pretty busy phase 1, and it just seems to be getting busier.
So many teams just got the read spot on with where this circle was going to shift to, and most of them are already centered up, so now it's the squads that have left it a little bit late on the rotate that are being punished. Bessia have just found 2 onto Musi, looking to try and find that other player. The Sonics will be watching the cross. Mime is there to trade it out. Still one more in the form of Zig, and I'm not sure whether they have the read on exactly where that player is. Flood will hear it from his teammate, but it's going to be Vinny who finds the headshot. Nicely done to finish off the job, but another crash coming in now as AKA open up onto Pandorito.
Yeah, AKA getting to work. Panadorito losing one, but I think for Moguls, it's not really the position that they want to be in. Danshin from AKA is going to get the knock as well as Loli is going to fall. AKA just putting in the work. Vixras will spray but doesn't get the knock on to Danshin. Will try to toss the nade. Is this one going to hit Paydirt? It should be good. This should be easy. But he doesn't land that one either, Chunks. And Varas now in a horrible position is going to try to get into the Pika bus, get out of dodge. But for Moguls, it is done and dusted as well. Gladiator, formerly known as the Doo-Doo Gladiator, will clean that one up.
So many teams falling so early on. If you guys pull up the map feed with !map, you'll see just how few players are actually inside of this circle now, with all of the battles that have taken place around the edge. So few teams left standing inside of the zone. I'm sure we're going to see a couple more players fall on that rotation in, but 7 kills on the board for AKA. That is massive for them. Potentially dangerous, also starting to put up some real numbers, but it's 55 Esports that are drawing my attention because they have a super aggressive split right in the center and nobody nearby pressuring them.
Yeah, now we've got Mimic as well, looking to maybe mimic the success that AKA just found, but AKA, well, they are like dogs on the hunt. They're pulling up onto that one as well, as Gladiator will get the knock on the Flax. XQN hoping to hold the line, but I feel like it's going to go from bad to worse. He's going to get run over as the Doo-Doo Gladiator works at it once more, and it's 9 kills for AKA now, as they are just putting in the work, and now they've essentially all but cleared the west side of the circle, with Dots rotating past PD, who've got 3 kills on the board.
9 kills in phase 2 is absolutely massive, as PD, they've got 3 of their own, nearly losing a player to AKA up on the north, as AKA are just rolling through. They are sending it in the vehicles down to the south, making that rotation. They don't want to let off the gas. They've got the momentum, they've got the kills. Why not keep pushing, keep catching teams off guard, and keep stacking those points? Dot will use, I believe that's an EP, to try and get players into the center of the circle, but the question now becomes, what do they choose to play? With Bestia so posted up in this position, they might have a bit of trouble getting down.
Yeah, Bestia, as you said, I think they've got lock on this here whole compound to the south. Tony just going to drive on over. Glock's the one that found the knock, and he'll run him over as well, as PD just continue their movements on the south side of the circle. Another kill on the board as they work their way up from the south. Now, they will run into teams like Dunk and Team Kazito as they path their way in from the south towards Danqing, towards Tuling. But I feel like the south side of the circle is just not where you want to be at this point in time. But keep an eye away over towards the east, Chunks, because FN might just be about to get pushed by Fate, who've got full access to the circle from the side, and I think Fate are more focused on what's ahead of them.
I think Fate have a nice position to work with for the time being, but as soon as they start taking shots, all eyes are going to turn in their direction. Smokes go down towards Angel. It's potentially dangerous. Have the read and start to post up to try and take down this solo. They will be aware of players further back, but whether they think it's the same team or not, I mean, there's nothing concise to it. Tony sends it up the hill in the vehicle. We'll try and catch the off angle. Is he just going to try and run over that player? Yes, he will. Angel goes down to the vehicle kill as Team Casito will lose that player. Only 1 kill on the board so far, and they have to start thinking about their rotation.
Yeah, the rotate. Where do they go, though, Chunks? Like, you look at it, I think you move up west towards Danqing. It ain't a bad pathing point because the compound held by Duncan, AKA, will prevent you going directly towards the center. I think the Team KZito are going to move in just beside Tuling. And for now, I think that it'll be okay. Just don't go too far. Stop going further, Bran. You're just running into trouble. Mime is here, and Mime's not going to let you get away with it. He jumps into the side swap. He baits him out for Draft King. Bran, you just had to bite off more than you could chew. Now, I know that hindsight is 2020, and he didn't know the best you were there. But I think when you just get into the circle, Chunks, sometimes it's not a bad idea to just park up and wait.
especially when you're this close to the next phase, getting ready to pop. If you start going in guns blazing right now, and the circle hard shifts away from you, then not only do you have to try and disengage from that fight, you then have to try and do it quickly and focus on the rotation. But I gotta say, let's focus on 55 Esports right now, because they are just completely posted up. You'd imagine they try and group up, but with the number of players that are actually alive, they could feel confident holding this 2-2 split, especially as they've now got the read onto Team Casito early and are already landing damage onto the vehicles.
Team Casito were just fully sending it for that shack in the middle of the compound, by the way, and I think that it's really the only choice that they have at this point in time. RNZ will try to pop some tires in that position, look for some damage, but at this point in time, you're not going to do any real damage. Falcon will get a knock on a Nidavon after Nidavon found Lippy, and Falcon will look to find another. Now, Gabri should be able to smoke off this res on the edge of the circle. The rest of PD are in a spot of bother as Psycho gets a knock on to Glock. PD getting torn apart at the seams now, and AKA need to be fast. Tony getting shot in the back by Mime as another angle has been found, and well, PD's reign of terror, their 5 kills. They might not get all too many more unless they pull off something big here with Gabri rotating towards Tony.
Gabri sends it down, looking to try and get the revive, but it's too little too late as Glock will bleed. 5 kills on the board for PD, but it's AKA who have just been punishing everyone that tried to get involved onto this. Psycho finds another, and it's Night of on the player who has been so fundamental to PD's performance so far. Tony's far away from the rest of the squad, needs to try and group up, but if he makes this cross, you just know that 55 are going to try and deny it. Night of on will be pulled back into the fray. The smokes come down from Dunks Gaming. They also need to make the cross. 55 Esports just shooting fish in a barrel right now. They are posted up. They are looking down in this direction, and anytime a team tries to make a cross, they are more than happy to punish. Nanu finds a knock onto Leapy, will try and confirm it as a flush to make it 10 kills now on the board for AKA.
Yeah, that's his second kill. Gladiator's got 4 of his own, but he's been knocked, but that should be rezzed in the middle of the compound as Dunks work their way in. Another knock from Pipa, this time using the arm to get the knock on a Nidavon as it's his second time falling in this game. But they're inside the compound, just on the south of Danqing. That's all you need to do. Nanu turns his attention up towards Dunks once more. A lot of damage dealt, but the problem is, well, the problem was for Dunks that they were being held by Bestia on the other side. But now they've got an opportunity. Look at that Zyko with the VSS from inside the blue. Gets a knock onto Flood. Just for all the viewers at home, that is the second time tonight that a player from Dots inside the blue in the late game has gotten a knock with the VSS. I don't think he'll get the oh my god, Zyko, just behave yourself.
Well, he will get the flush onto that one as Vinny's out in the blue. Still got 7 first aid kits, about to become 6. But where is Valier? He's also in the blue, but he's on the opposite side of the circle. I'm sure he's got a VSS of his own, just sneaking their way through. As you got to think for Zyko, it's going to be really difficult to try and make it into this circle. Bestia know about his position. They're going to be 3 players up in no time. He needs to focus on rotating over to the west, but what cover is there to work with? And look at how many teams are over to his west. We've got 3 squads all playing the same position as we hop on board. Dunks Gaming will be able to find the opening knock onto Nightavon.
Yeah, that's a great nade, and the molly's even better as that confirms out the kill. PD with just 2 players standing, but Dunks Gaming, they've got to be smart about this move because AKA are holding them aside. If AKA land 1 or 2 shots onto Dunks as they cross over that ridgeline, it means that they're a little bit weaker, but that knock from Coyote will give them a potential opening. Zinni is now down. You got to take advantage of this, Dunks. Move towards PD while the iron is hot, because at this point in time, AKA, with 1 player down, cannot hold you. Defensive utility being thrown by PD as they look to prevent the push, while elsewhere, Mira look to be in a bit of an action inside Danqing.
Only 2 players left up from Mira. Things really not going great for them so far this evening. A lot of pressure going into that final game tonight, and of course the 4 matches that we will play tomorrow. Ants using that third person, has the read on Gabri, gets ready to go for the peak, but Gabri quickly moving away, not wanting to expose himself for too long, because it almost certainly would have spelled the end for him. 4 kills on the board for Dunks Gaming, as they should just be able to hold on to this ridge for the time being. But PUBG, it's all about thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, and right now, what plans can they actually make? They have no ability to make this cross until they get some really sufficient knocks over onto potentially dangerous.
I'm wondering if they waited too long as well to make this push, because AKA can still hold from the side, and well, potentially dangerous are also making a nuisance of themselves. There's a crash in the center of the circle as FN will rock up on Team KZito and take the shack all to themselves after pushing in. Now we're seeing Gabri take a little bit more damage from Coyote. Both he and Tony down to low HP at this point in time. Gladiator dealt with for AKA. But look at this. There's no utility for Dunks. They don't have any actual explosives or lethals in their back pocket. It's just stun grenades at this point.
They burn through it all trying to open up the push onto this, as Vinny, he tries to open up with a big nade, but it won't be able to connect. Dunks Gaming's only option here is to use those flashbangs, throw them through every window, and then just send it, hope for the best, hope that you can make it. That's the only way that I can see them being able to take this compound, unless somehow PD get third-partied. But who cares about a third party when the C4 going straight towards 4-0? They are limited in what they can play, and Flood will be credited with the kills. 4-0. Down in 10th position.
Flood letting them know exactly what he thinks of both the FN team and the Pika bus, as he's willing to sacrifice it into the ether to pick up 2 more kills. Bestia, now having cleared that shack, can focus even more on 55, who've just been gifted center of the circle. AKA, with 10 kills of their own, are still in this dance with both PD and the members of Dunks. Now, a big issue for AKA Chunks is that Peepa and Psycho have them locked down from range, constantly putting pressure on as they look to leave the compound. This is their move now. They're looking to, if they can get to that ridgeline, Chunks, there's just a ridgeline by the side of the road. If they can get that far, it might just give them somewhere to play for at least a little while.
Well, they've got something. It's not inside the circle, though. It looks like they're going to try and come in from behind Team Mirror. Just taking a stop to scout out, see what's available. Danshin going to hop back into the vehicle. Looked for a second like he was going to leave Nanu behind, but he's quickly jumped in. Valiant still inside of this area. Could cause problems. The JS9, the VSS, the 9mm meta, as AKA send it in towards Team Mirror. Underhand nade will come out. It's a little bit far from Nanu, but will do a lot of damage onto Danshin. LFP goes down, but fakes in there to trade it and finishes off the job. That's AKA shut down in 9th position, but 10 kills to go with it. A very strong performance as Dunks Gaming now being pressured by PD, who have moved out of the building. Tony's getting ready with the Panzer to fire it out. Will it connect? Yes, it will. Takes down one, and it's a 2 versus 1, but Tony's down low and needs to pop a heal before that zone creeps in.
Yeah, now another smoke's been thrown, and this brings us back to the question, should Dunks have pushed PD a little while ago? Now they've gotten some shit luck with a shift, and the answer is no. They end up winning the war. Now Jan's going to erupt into flames, but Dunks wipeout potentially dangerous, as they say. Gibson, you don't know what you're talking about, as they get some access to the south side of the circle and get some space freed up. But the question is, where do the points come from here? Bestia, they've made their move. They called in the deployable cover, as those Doritos will give them something to work at as they move towards 55. But 55 Chunks, phase 7, will keep the compound in the circle. Dots are just VSS demons as he gets the knock on to MK, and he might be able to add another one on the board when... By the way, while that was going on, Mira got wiped out by Jumentus.
This is one of those spots where Valiant is wishing he had a BZ nade right now, because those things are so dangerous when you have an area like this where players are pinned down inside of a shack, tagged down low, and well, it feels like things are going the way of either 55 or Bestia right now, as they are the only 2 teams inside this circle, and the only 2 teams with any form of cover to work with going forward. Everybody else is going to have to push in the open, rely most likely on vehicles to make their move. Bestia have got a crate for a little bit of extra cover as well. So right now, I think Bestia 55, they're not even too concerned about themselves. I think they're probably going to try and sponge up some kills from those teams that are rotating in before they fully engage onto each other.
Looking elsewhere as well, like, Dunks do have the ability to pop the tire and really ruin Juventus's rotate in now at this point as well. 55 Esports, their issue, Chunks, is they have been laying down covering fire for so long that ammo count is going to become a bit of an issue as the game goes on. Valiant with the jammer pack completely spent is going to go inside the blue. He's got 5 first aids. He's inside the placement points, but will he get any more? The answer is no, as Flood picks up that kill. Fate now they're making their move. Pipa steps out with a Panzer, and that's going to be the knock on the flanker. Vorpal will run into the smoke. Will Pipa be able to find another one? 37 damage dealt with this time, and now Firefighter's getting shot at from behind from C to Carlos, and as he was laying down the law, Pipa steps out once more and finds another knock. The world is conspiring to stop Fate from getting any further here, Chunks, and Bestia are picking up points again as MK will go down to the blue.
The fate seemingly decided, but as Pesadella goes down to the blue, it leaves only Carlos left up for Juventus. As Verpal trying his best to survive, using the smokes for cover, going to try and grab anything he can off his teammate. He has a BZ, he has a smoke, he has a frag. What will he be able to use to try and survive? It looks like Carlos going to be running out in the open somehow, has not been spotted out as DraftKing and the rest of Bestia focus down towards Dunks Gaming as they get ready to make their move. DraftKing looking out, but he can't see that final player. Carlos has been able to sneak in just behind the hill, laying prone, going to play safe for the time being, as Bestia now preparing to take the fight onto 55 Esports. Probably going to be hoping for a shift in their direction that will force 55 at least partially out of this compound, and then the two solos can be a thorn in their side.
Look at the problem, though, that Bestia are having as well. Their helmets have taken a beating. Their vests aren't great nick either. They've been battling the whole way through this game, and it's a problem now. C de Carlos will throw his Hail Mary, and people will answer the prayer, picking up the point for 55. So for C de Carlos, you ain't even getting that extra point. 4 teams left alive. It's a 4v3, v1, v1. Both 55 and Bestia want to deal with these two solos before they focus on each other, because Bestia can't lock into 55, because if they do, Coyote's going to shoot them from behind. The same thing applies to 55. They can't focus on Bestia, because if they push out, C de Carlos is going to get the angle on the other side. So both these solos should fall before we see Bestia and 55 go head to head.
Pippa waiting with that Orm for a peek. And of course, typical timing, as soon as he unpeaks, Carlos makes the run. Now they have a read on exactly where that player is. RNZ will finish off the job as we make it into the top 3. Now the pressure feels like it's starting to lean towards Bestia. They've got the player advantage, but they can't fully commit. Over onto 55 Esports with this final player from Dunks Gaming, still an unknown factor. They have a rough idea of his position, as you can tell, but he has been keeping his head down, knows that it's all about trying to get placement points right now, third party in any fights that kick off. So he's just playing as safe as possible, and ultimately he's still inside zone, so why would he peek?
Yeah, Wily Coyote in a pretty good spot right now. The road is going to be a dangerous thing to cover across in a few minutes' time, but still, look, Bestia are completely locked in on Coyote. Now, 55, if they really want to, can push to Bestia. The only reason they haven't is because they've only got 3 players up. If they had more, you can guarantee they'll go from Vinny. Oh my god, no. Pipa, you can't miss those, as Vinny was dead. The rights inside the pony. But just like that, sorry, not inside the pony, I'm on the wrong map here, as a nade will be thrown. Maybe this one will find a little bit more joy, but nothing doing here either. 55, wasting one of those precious arm bullets, but Chunks, were at that range, that distance now, where the arm is essentially going to be defunct, devoid. It'll be ARs from this point out, most likely.
But what about Psycho's Panzer? All those Bestia players are pretty close together. You can see RNZ has one in his back pocket as well. They could be so dangerous at this kind of range, as RNZ will take down the final player for Dunks Gaming, and you see them quickly changing over to the Panzer, waiting for that vehicle to pull up, and it finds Vinny. That's the opening knock. That's equalised the fight down to a 3 versus 3. Vinny probably going to try and play for a little bit of info as Psycho tries to get the flush. He's not quite able to. Pippa's still trying to land the AWM shots, but no joy coming out of it as Mime now starts to make his move. Flashbangs will fly overhead, but DraftKings, he has so much ammo in that MG3, is not going to have to reload. He could get 2 or 3 knocks in rapid succession as both teams now being forced. It's 55 with the blue on their back, Panzer in their hands, and their hopes held high, but as Flood runs through the smoke, it feels like it's only a matter of time till he peaks. It's DraftKings that opens things up, gets 2 knocks with the MG3, and it's finished off by Flood, and it's Bestia who get a 15 kill win.
Back-to-back Bestia, 2 wins in a row, and there is no questioning now who will be top of the leaderboard after that one. I genuinely thought the tertiary utility, the helmets and the vests, were so badly beaten by Bestia, and once that knock on to Vinny came through, I was like, this here has to be a game for 55. They've got to take advantage. They've got the Panzer, but the spray from the MG, from DraftKings, getting those 2 knocks and leaving him all by himself, won that game. Big plays from DraftKings, and I know this is just the Player Cup, and I know this is just the qualifier for the Masters LCQs, but anytime Bestia seem to need a hero play, the amount of times it is DraftKings that makes it is insane to me.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Bestia have stepped things up this evening. They started out in a bit of a rough spot, but with an absolutely huge performance, they are going to be well within reach of the top 4, getting ready to confirm themselves their position. That C4 play was just the cherry on top of that cake. The Team Mirror, they're still struggling, you know? They were able to pick up a couple of kill points, but this is not the Mirror that we're used to seeing.
I don't know whether it's a hangover from the weekend where they played so well and, you know, got themselves way up on top of the leaderboard and qualified for LCQs, because it's just more disjointed than we're used to seeing from the side. And I think that they will improve tomorrow. But the question is, are they going to find themselves in a position where they're too far back that they will need to play next week and try to qualify once more? Well, what am I saying, Chunks? They play every week. They never, ever miss a chance to play in the Players Tour. But Bestia, 25 more points in the bag for them. And it goes to show how big of an impact that win has, because 55, with just a couple of kills left, have 9 points less because of the difference in those placement points and kill points.
Yeah, it is close up at the top end of things, but even down to the bottom, things drop off pretty quickly. But it's Bestia, 41 total points, pretty much locking themselves in to that top 4 as long as they have a strong performance tomorrow. But it is so close for the top 4, which ultimately is the prize pool, but also the qualification, unless 55 are able to move up just 1 more point to be able to retake 4th position. It is close, and there's only 1 game remaining, so we are going to go to a very short break, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes.
Captain Crispy.
Down. Fat Cap still alive. Just eviscerate the team just like that. They have taken the game.
Welcome back in, everyone, and it is time for the final game of the night. But chat, we've got an announcement to make before we get into the action. Chunks, you thought you were going to get away lightly tonight. Can we have a massive happy birthday in chat for the one and only Chunks? He has been here with you for 95% of every single player cup all year round. Chunks, it's been a pleasure working with you this year, and I want to give you wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine, though. Getting to spend the past few months with you, cast it again. It's been a long time, and it's good to be back for sure. But let's hope we go out this evening with a bang, with Erangel, because the Players Tour tonight specifically has been mayhem for sure. So let's hope that that carries on over in our Erangel game, and who knows, I might get a present and get one of those horrible circles where it's kind of half Millie Island, half Milter. They're my favourite. Come on, game, give it to me.
And if you ever want to give Chunks a present, folks, get him some fishing gear or get him some G-Coin. Either way, he'll be happy. I'm not going to give you his P.O. box, so I'm not going to give you his address because we don't do that here. But yeah, happy birthday, man. We're seeing a lot of happy birthdays in chat for you too. So look, I think for the viewers at home, we'll let you know tonight and next week are the last two Players Cups of the year. It's the last time that myself and Chunks will be bringing you all the action. So we're going to absolutely enjoy every second of it going into the very end of what's been a pretty fun year of PUBG Player Tour action.
It has, and I think it's been an awesome event. We've seen a lot of teams that we're not familiar with making their stake in that kind of semi-pro level, earning themselves some cash, playing against some of the best teams in the region. So let's hope that we can see more teams do the same going forward, and hopefully we'll be back next year. Who knows?
Celery.
Oh, no,
you can't park
celery.
there, mate. Can't park there, mate.
That is a rough way to start the game. But you know what? Look, he's got plenty of teammates around. There's plenty of vehicles around where they drop. Lipovka is one of those areas that has like 3 or 4 different vehicle spawns. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, but that was the one he wanted. That was his car. And I hope for Mimic at least that they can mimic Bestia and pick up a couple more points because they're sitting bottom of the leaderboard right now, which is disappointing to see. Again, this is a roster that I know, having covered them in open qualifiers on different teams and through scrims, you know, players like Flax and XQN. So I hope they finish today strong. You know, give us something nice to be happy with. Same goes to Dots. You know, less of the VSS plays from the blue, more top 4 high kill games from a roster like that is what we'd want to see. But the one thing I will say is no matter how bad things get for Dots, you know they're vibing out. They're having a good time. Like, any team with Shane on it is going to be having fun no matter what the situation. Who, if I'm not wrong, IGLs as well.
It's the beauty of the Players Tour, isn't it? Is that you don't have to take yourself super seriously. You can try something wacky. I mean, think back, we were the first event, really, that had that BRDM C4 edition that was made, and it was really exciting to watch when we saw all the changes, like the recall beacons, like the BRDMs being added. It was really exciting to watch, and I think that is the beauty of the Players Tour, isn't it? It's almost like a bit of a testing ground before we roll things out to comp fully. So I think that's one of the amazing things. I think it's why, if you have the opportunity, if you have a couple of players that you're able to play with, get yourself signed up for the next Players Cup. It is the last opportunity to do so this year. There is a huge prize pool for the Masters if you're able to qualify. So make sure you do !register in chat and give it a go, because it's your last opportunity. And who knows, we might not be back next year.
Yeah, you never know. You cannot take anything for granted inside of PUBG. Kerak is trying an incredible play, but is there anybody on that? Yes, there is. So Gabri is currently hanging on. It'd be nice to get a headshot here, but I don't think it's going to happen. But you brought up an important point there, and that was the fact that this is played on the most recent patch. Now, you didn't say it was live server, but yeah, PUBG Players Cup is always played on the live server, or at least tonight it's not, because there's some maintenance, so we're on the esports servers, but it means that whatever is brought in, whatever was updated in the most recent patch, will always be used inside the PUBG Players Tour. So, yes, there are zipline guns. Yes, you've got the BRDM, and you've got all that fun stuff that was added in the previous patch. But it gives you an idea how some of these players are going to use things. And what I find the funniest is when they announced the recall system into PUBG, people lost their minds. They were like, this isn't my PUBG, you know, the stakes aren't as high. It actually hasn't had as big an impact as what anybody thought it was going to. Like, at the end of the day, first you've got to get the chip. Second, you've got to get to a recall station. Teams know where the recall stations are, and they know when they're being activated. And then players fly back in with no helmet, no vest. Like, you get shot out of the sky for fun in a lobby like this when you've got no helmet and vest. So it is a nice option for teams who want to play more aggressive, who want to crash in and want to hot drop, but it's not been the game-breaking thing that everybody thought it was going to be.
Are you trying to tell me that PUBG viewers overreacted to something? I refuse to believe that, Gibson. Mira, they're going to be pushing in over towards AKA right now, taking down Danshin and Nanu, and AKA, well, the tables are starting to turn for them after an extremely strong performance in our previous game. Mira trying to pick up that momentum that we're so used to seeing out of them.
Yeah, we need something big from Mira. Like, this has not been the Mira that we know. 2 kills on the board already, 1 for Fana, 1 for Fixin, but if I read it right, they are like, was it 11 points? Something like that so far on the night. And usually this is a team that average 11 points per game. So we'll see a lot. Here's an E-pickup as Glock will say thank you very much for the free point as Brandy's will be there. And now there's going to be the rest of PD landing. You've got players on the roof. FN are going to be by, but Pisado and Buneko will get a kill each. And here comes Tony looking to clean things up, but C to Carlos will do a little bit of damage. Pesadeo will get another one on to knock as Tony falls at the hands of Sweezy, who picks up another kill. Gabri just full steam ahead, runs up the stairs, hip firing, but C to Carlos will hold it. And here come FN Chunks. They know that Juventus are weak, and they want to make the move, but Infinite's been spun out.
Bunko tries to land the spray, but somehow Infinite comes out on top of it. Now there's only going to be 2 players left up here for Juventus. Nade will come through. It's on the wrong side of the building, though, so will not be able to connect. Sweezy had a repair kit in hand. Not sure whether that was intentional, but he's got the flashbang ready to go now. Switches back over to the gun, holding back on the push. They think they have that team narrowed down for nothing. They've got a player anchoring, but he's got no lethal util. But MPX pushes straight through. Goes to the hipfire. Stop shooting, though, as Sweezy, MPX just spraying through the smoke, trying to find anything, but nothing connected. Everyone is blind. Everyone is trying to find something, but GMO finishes off the job.
You might not like it, but that is what peak PUBG performance looks like, everybody. Just hip firing in the smoke, just shooting at every single noise that you're going to hear. But you know what? I'm here for it. It's game 4, Chunks, and that's what you love to see. Mimic, they're caught in the open here as they're pushing towards OMG. This is happening just north of Lipovka. Remember, Mimic dropped in Lipovka. Celery parked his car upside down. And now he finds himself trying to lock in OMG, who've... By the way, Chunks, OMG, nice night so far for them.
Yeah, really strong performance. Starting out well. Continued that momentum. Sure, it hasn't been kind of a 10 out of 10 dominant performance like we see from Team Mirror in previous weeks, but you know what? OMG, they're putting up the numbers, they're being consistent, and that's what you need to a certain extent. You just need that one pop-off game that really sets you above and beyond the rest of the lobby to qualify in the top 4, as Leapy tries to go for the spray over onto the rotating team, but it's not to be found. It looks like they're heading straight in towards Mog, who at the moment are going with a really big split and could end up getting punished.
Yeah, you gotta get into those crates because the vehicle's gonna blow. Lowly will get that kill under, at least the knock onto Zig, and you can see he's sprinting. He's trying to get the angle on the other side. He's got a nade in the back pocket here as well. Tosses it up over the ridgeline, and that one's going to hit Paydirt as well, as Lost will be the next player to fall. 2 points on the board for Moguls. You can see they're going inside the craters at this point, but like I saw the vehicle smoking on the rotates, and it was a matter of when and not if it was going to blow up. And Chunks, while I was going on, how's about that for a shift?
Yeah, I love it. Lipovka circle. What a birthday present, am I right? Half the circle pretty much going to be in the water. I'd imagine teams probably try and play just south of Mansion right now. Probably some teams going to be forced into the trenches. Team Mirror are actually using an emergency pickup to rotate in, which is a bold play in a circle with so much hillside terrain where teams will need vehicles going later on into the game. But as of right now, not a single player is inside of Lipovka. So that'll be an interesting one to watch, see whether anyone commits over to it. As Pandorito tries to land the spray, but he runs out of ammo, and Sonic's going to punish him for it.
He went for a drive-by spray with 4 bullets. Like, that was never going to go well. But you know what? I see the vision. It's just the vision did not go as planned. Brass is going to go and show him how it's done. Okay. That's not how it's done. And Varas now is in a horrible spot as Sonic will go across. He stands his own. He wins one fight. But now it's KPN up against Varas. Let's see if the Spider is able to make anything happen from this position. Well, the answer is he doesn't need to, because Flanker is going to get the knock. And Fate, who have also been picking up points, gone under the radar, but I don't think they've had a pointless game tonight yet. We'll say thank you very much for that point. Now thank you very much for the next point. They'll try to clean this one up.
Certainly will. Vara's still going to be alive, but there's still that unknown factor of the player further away to the south in the form of Lowly. He is probably not going to be getting eyes onto this one, so they're just going to focus on running over that player. Gladiator down to 1 HP, gets absolutely lit up by Tung Tung Shahor as Loki tries to make the push, tries to finish off the job, as both these teams need to start trying to make a rotate in, probably over this hillside. Team Mirror, by the way, they're finally on that EP making their move, as Loki will go for the seat swap, but he gets punished by DZ as Ferraz goes down as well, and this is huge from AKA with only 2 players left. Make it 1 now as Gladiator's been knocked.
AKA have done a great job of picking up points tonight as well, with loads of kills on the board. Gladiator in Phase 2, I think, might just be too far away to get that res off Chunks, but Zenny will certainly try to bring him back on his feet. But you know what? Let's see what AKA can make of this.
Has he got a jammer pack? Because if he does, he could be in a really good position to get revived. DraftKings in a good position to find the spray, but he can't find the knock to go with it. They've committed over to the trenches, but they are in a bit of a 2-2 split, which does make them vulnerable from southern pushes. Although, the only 4-man down to the south at this point is going to be Team Casito. LFP takes down Flood. Should be a safe enough revive. Does have the hard cover to work with as Team Mirror. They use that EP to head straight into Mansion. If this circle shifts over to the west now, we're going to be in a very good position to try and hold on for that late game.
Yeah, Mira, 3 kills on the board. This has not been their day, but you can certainly change your just a perspective with one good game. The circle shift is good for Mira. It's also good for, I think, Bestia. Vinny can get over. They can pop that res off as they will convert their 2-2 split into a solid 4-wall. Necro will turn tail as he tries to find somewhere to play for Tung Tung Sahura, and I think just go back to the trench. The trench just north of prison is fine. There's no reason not to play that position at this point in time. Yes, you've got the likes of Team Kazito and Dunks not too far. Oh my god, LFP. He's kind of nasty with it as LFP.
He is, isn't he? Team Mirror, like, what, we haven't got enough kills tonight? Okay, let's start stepping it up now. They've got 3 on the board. They're dead center in the circle. They are feeling pretty good about themselves. They just want to try and find themselves the flush. Maybe even a second one to go with it. Just trying to pop those tires, spamming through the smoke. It looks like Tung Tung Sahul should be able to get the revive off, at least for the time being. Dots, they start to make their rotation down. Coming past Bestia. And it looks like they're either heading to Mansion, but now they get shot. I think they're going to send it over to the trenches that we just saw Tung Tung Sahur in.
Might be the only option they have at this point as they continue to scout, but LFP is going to go to work once more. But I think this dip right here with the 3 UASs for cover will just about work, right? This is just map knowledge, knowing the way lay of the land. Over elsewhere, though, 55 Esports are locking horns with FN. 1 player is down. That is Infinite. Sweezy going to look to hold the line while the rest of the team get in a vehicle and cross their way over. But 55 with Kerak, well, that is the can opener that they might need. Sweezy hops inside the UAS, but RNZ, he's got a can opener of his own. So he will lay down fire. Here's the rest of FN. A little bit of damage done with the first bit. And now Jimu, who's pulled off some incredible plays as a solo so far, will need to wipe 55 Esports. But 55, they're hungry. They're feeling it. They get their 4th kill as For Nothing are wiped.
Really nicely done there from 55. They got that opening knock, quickly surrounded and finished off the jobs. I think 55 have really been the innovators of the Panzer here in the Players Tour. I think it would be them and potentially Dangerous have just been stacking 2 or 3 of them on a fight, using them to open things up to really good effect. Now they've got control of the northern side of the zone. Mortars will be coming in over towards Dot's positions. They do have to be a little bit careful in that dip. It is one of those that can be read quite easily, and it's Bestia who are center circle that are going to be sending them in. Or are these a little bit closer to Fate? Nope, they are dead on Dot, a couple of meters further behind, and they would have got a squad wipe.
Yeah, lowly falls. Now, you used the word innovators for 55 with the Panzer. I have a different word, Chunks. Do you know what that different word is?
Go for it.
Abusers. They have been the abusers of the Panzer so far tonight at the way things are going. Now, as we get that next zone shift, the trench that Tung Tung Sahura are playing in, looking pretty good right now, as is Bestia's position. But I'm looking at Fate. They've wrapped all their way in. They've picked up a couple of kills on the board already. Flanker and Firefighter, they're holding down the circle, while Tater and Vorpal are playing as not forward scouts, but flank scouts at this point in time, as they're keeping an eye on anybody who could rotate into the circle from the other way. And Vorpal inside the Alamo right now might just spot out Orenzira if he elects to wrap this way. Because other than where Fate are playing, where Dots are playing, and Tung Tung Sahura, there is nothing that you can play safely in this section of the circle without taking a fight.
Yeah, it is a brutal circle indeed. I'm a little bit surprised that more teams haven't committed down to the south, but I think that Team Casito just have really good control over things right now. As I say that, Logan will be able to find an opening knock over on towards one of the players from Team Fate. It's 55 are now going to be forced out of their position, trying their best to scout out ahead, looking for Verpal. They know there are shots over in that direction. They haven't got an exact read on where they're coming from. Verpal will now hop into the vehicle, start to make the move, and, well, 55 are going to be able to hear that and probably try and fire off some shots in this direction.
Yeah, but Verpal is just a little bit too far ahead at this point, and you can see that the rest of 55 are chasing now. Do they think that this is a solo player from a team by itself? Or are they realizing that this is a full squad that they could be going head into? Now, Erangel has got just about a flank to play as AKA's Gladiator. Is he going for the recall system? He's going to stop inside Lipovka and pop a first aid. I don't know if he's got those blue chips in his back pocket, but we'll keep an eye on his movements to see if that is, in fact, what he is going to do. But 55 now, they spot out Firefighter. They do a little bit of damage at the first call of asking. They really want Mira to push 55, and Mira will do it right on cue with that knock onto Pipa.
Pipa getting taken down, but the smokes are quick. They find the flush and can't find a second knock, as Flanker going to be the one to trade it out. And just quickly, you spoke about that recall system. Look, he's the only player left up. In a circle like this with such little cover, if you can bring those three teammates back in, they just parachute around for a bit. Forget about trying to play as a four-man. Just parachute around. There's nowhere that you're going to be able to loot. Grab that info. It can be worth so much, but Gladiator will be getting spotted out by Flax as AKA go down in 11th position. Flax looks to try and find himself a second kill over towards OMG.
Yeah, we're now inside the last 10 teams, 36 players alive as the circle shifts back towards prison. And who could have seen that one coming? Certainly not Team KZito, who are being rewarded for hanging on to that cliff line for so long. You've also got Dunks who are holding the quad compound just to the northeast of prison, and they're in a really nice position to play. But you look at where Dots are playing, and you look at the trench where Tung Sahura are playing, and you're going, well, Bestia might crash it, 55, Mira, you know, even OMG, and I'd even argue as fact as Mimic might even be thinking that could be on their tray. So there could be a lot of action in the next minute or so as the circle starts closing and these teams need to find somewhere to play.
It's all about making those vehicle rotations now, isn't it? And for a team like Mira, I mean, they used the EP earlier. They should have vehicles, but you've got to imagine that their options are going to be a lot more limited than 55, who are going to make Sender their own banner, will be able to knock out RNZ. But I saw a Panzer, and I see a C4. RNZ takes down two. It's only going to be Shane Doe left up, as Carax will try and find himself a bit of a seat swap. No joy just yet, using the vehicles for cover. Tries to go for the heal, but Shane Doe, with the underhand nade, might just be able to finish off the job, but he certainly does. 55 Esports down in 10th. As now Dots, with one player left, will look to try and get the revive. But surely if you're a team like Mira, you've seen that crash go through, you've seen the kill feed, now you want to retake that position. Axmire takes down Haven, but Mimic are just locking horns right now with OMG. Only Satan left up for OMG as he tries to land the return spray. Celery is out in the blue, just popping heals. Flax throws out the flashes, has the read on Satan, but I don't think that flashbang was able to connect as well as he hoped. He goes to the flush, maybe to get the point, but maybe to deny the info. Hits the reload. Now Satan has an idea of where Flax is going to be. Peeks out left in the smoke, but Flax is scoped in and he can't see it.
Yeah, it's going to go down to the shots to the blue. Flax will get the kill as Dots are also eliminated on the other side. A nade dropped right on top of Tung Sahura as Necro will sprint away. The mortar strikes landing inside the trenches as well, as it really does feel like World War I, World War II in this section of the map. More mortars, more misses as Bestia try to create an opening for themselves to move into the section of the map. You've also got one, that's Haven getting that knock on the Tater. As Mira begin moving this way, Tater had extended out a little bit further from the rest of the team, and Haven's going to hit a headshot onto Firefighter. Vorpal will play some Bonnie Tyler because he's going for the hero res. He gets up to Tater, but do Mira have the utility that they need to stop this from happening? Haven could potentially pop the tires to stop the retreat for now, but Fate are going for the hero res.
Haven's going to make the run over to the Doritos, but it's Flanker who's able to find the damage, and that is not the player you want to get in the read. The nade is close, but it looks like it's going to be on the other side of the rock. Never mind, it's a BZ. It gets the re-knock over onto Tater, as now Verpal going to be pushed away from the rock, using the smoke for cover. Vanna going to try and throw a nade over the top, but it's just a little bit wide from his position. So Verpal now will be able to regroup on this rock, play it for cover, but those frags are landing close, just bouncing a little bit far. If one's cooked a little longer, that'll be the end of it, but somehow manages to avoid going down. 5 HP behind the tree, and Mira frustrated.
Yeah, but Vorpal, you gotta give him credit. He went for the hero play. He got the res, but Mira just had the utility that they needed to stop it from happening, to stop it from being secured. They got the BZ off, and, well, Team Fate are just the 3. The circle shifted even more so on top of Tung Tung Sahura as LFP will spray with that red dot at long range. Another blue zone nade. Why not, as Fate have the blue at their back, and now they have the blue at their front. But Bestia, they get the angle on the other side. They wipe out Mimic, and they get the knock onto LFP. Mira now in trouble. 6 kills on the board for them. Fana going for that instant res, and Haven now will need to hold the line, as they'll be able to pick up some loot from all the players from dots that fell in this position. But this is still not inside the circle.
You gotta wonder, what are Mira's next steps now? Sure, they've got this dip, they've got a vehicle that's smoking. I mean, they focus on taking down Team Fate down on the southwest, but honestly, what after that? Team Fate have managed to disengage. They've now got a hill between them. It's Team Casito that needs to switch up their attention down to the west, but honestly, I think they're preoccupied with the team off to the east, as Axmeyer tries to land the spray onto Leapy, will end up getting absolutely lit. Angel tries to return fire, but nothing connecting yet, as Logan has now made the spot, knows that they are getting pushed by Team Fate. Mini 14 shots coming down, but again, they just can't connect. Team Casito, they can't make a decision on which team to commit to, and that's allowed both squads to now close in and pinch them, as Haven, he's got himself a Panzer. It's close range, but it doesn't connect.
Haven now, mollies in hand. Now there's still that Lynx on the other side from Necro. The UAs will bro, and the C4, by the way, Tung Tung Sahur will manage to get one. Mimi finds one, but they're eventually dealt with. 2 players left standing. Bran did a little bit of damage on the flanker, but up close and personal now is Vorpal. He'll be the next to fall, as Bran will hit another headshot. Make that 3. Bran picks up the 5th kill for Team Casito. And then there were 4. It's a 4v4v4v2, as we have got 14 players still alive. It is only phase 6. But best you know that Mira have just got 2 players left alive, and Mira are desperately trying to hold Bestia back.
But the circle's gone their way. Bestia are regrouping. They're going to use this hill for cover to try and get high ground, to try and get an angle over on towards Team Mira. And ultimately, Team Mira are going to be the ones who have to try and defend the trenches if a team like Casito tries to move into this position, which is exactly what they'll do. Axmir will be the first to fall from Team Casito, as DG just keeping players over in that compound, playing split, trying to cover all angles. Haven opens up onto mine, but I can't imagine Bestia will get pushed just yet. They should be able to get themselves the revive, group up as 4, and play things just a little bit slower. Let the other teams deal with each other. Don't overexpose yourself when you don't need to.
At this point in time, though, Team KZito don't have a lot to play. Bestia and Team Mira are the only 2 teams in the circle, as Dunks Gaming will move Yaz up to that rock, and Yaz will be able to hold that for at least a little while. The rest of the players play by the shack, so they've got themselves just something. It is a dip, but it is something. But Bran is on the other side. Another headshot. He's got Yans in his sights. Peeks up, and Bran hits another. It is going to be his 4th and 5th knock of the last few minutes. Now do they push on the Dunks Gaming? You know that they're weak. The vehicle explodes, and I think the Coyote is going to let little Lippy crawl a little bit further away and then attempt to get the res, but Vinny does not stop the pain, as Coyote will be the next one to fall here, Chunks. It's just Falcon standing.
Bran is on an absolute tear right now, putting in work, finding headshots left, right, and center. Now just looking for Falcon, but it's Bestia that are starting to apply the pressure. Flood still covering behind, knowing that they could get pushed by Mira, but for the time being, I don't imagine they're going to try and commit to this. They want at least one of these teams up to the north to fall as Bran continues looking out. He just can't find the head of the player that he is looking for, but 8 kills on the ball for Team Casito, a huge performance from them.
And the reason why he's not firing is because ammo has become a problem. He's running both sections. Now, this vehicle explosion will do a ton of damage to the shield. The flip might even remove it, but no, the shield will still stand. Then he starts firing, the shield eventually falls, and Falcon will go to the rock, into the blue, and it's just a matter of when and not if dunks are going to fall. And the when is now, as Vinny picks up that kill. It's now a 3v4v2. Mira looking to turn their day around with 2 players left alive. They've still got that Lynx and Mime just on the other edge of that debris. Has got to be oh so careful. But LFP with only 5 rounds left alive as well. Not the number he'd want. Is there a C4 on that vehicle, or is it just driving off into the distance? I think it's just driving off.
I mean, Mira was stacked for USIL, weren't they? They must have thrown 10 BZ nades so far this game. It doesn't seem like it was a C4 after all, though, as DraftKings will be able to take down Logan. Just trying to isolate that Team Casito play in the form of Angel. Will be able to do so. Takes him down, finds the flush as well. 3 kills on the board now for Bestia, but they make it 5 as DraftKings finds the head of Bran. They are running so open right now, but they are just completely surrounding Team Mira. There's LFP, 3 shots with the links, but he just can't connect with any of them whatsoever. DraftKings now has the high ground, has the read, is going to call it out to his team, finds a little bit of damage, and this is the point where you start using those C4s. Flood has loaded up the Dacia, he's making the drive. That'll be the end of things, but it's actually Mira who deny the points early. 5 kills with the final win of the evening. That's Bestia winning, what, 3 out of 4 games?
Yeah, 3 in a row for Bestia to close the night off. It's not the biggest kill win, but it's another 15 points. They were into the 40s. Now they're deep into the 50s. And just a few more points will secure them tomorrow into the LCQs. Now remember, it is the top 4. It's a 4-map night, and there's 8 maps total. So for Bestia, all of the hard work has been done today. Mira finally getting themselves inside the top 4, but it wasn't quite good enough from them on the day, not by their high standards. There was the moment where Erangel, just like Hermione and Harry Potter said, he sacrificed himself, but unfortunately there was no happy ending for 55 as they pushed in. And then, what can you say? Some brilliant plays from Bran, but I feel like Team Casito didn't even get the points that they needed, or the points that their play deserved in that last map.
No, it was unfortunate from Team Casito. If they had just focused less over on towards DG, I think they would have been able to clean up that Western fight a lot quicker, and then prevented DG from even being able to make it into a position where they were a threat. But good read from Haven to deny the points there. Bestia getting a low kill win, but it's a win all the same. 15 points for them, 13 for Team Mira, and Team Casito coming out with another strong performance, 12 points. But the show stealer for me had to be Team Fate, a team that haven't been able to do much so far this evening, getting themselves 9 points. But let's take a look at how that affects the overall standings, Gibson.
I think that's a bit cruel on Team Fate because they've picked up points in every single game. I don't think they've dropped a donut and all, and like they're in 6th place. Like, yeah, they've had a tidy game. Like, they got 4 kills, I think, in the first on Miramar. They were unlucky. They got hot dropped. They got 4 kills, but the buyback made it a 4v5 in essence. Second map, I think they played okay, and Rondo, they were able to hoover up some points. Like, I think Team Fate have played okay, and I think that they've put themselves in a good chance to qualify tomorrow. Like, they're only 1 point away from the top 4 as things stand. Mira finally get themselves into the right, or to the left side of the leaderboard, which is the right side to be on. Tung Tung Sahur, 20 points in game number 1, only 3 points on the next 3 maps has been a little bit of a disappointing run for them, but going into tomorrow, a lot of teams are still on the hunt. Remember, it's only 4 maps. It's only the top 4 that go through. And with Bestia picking up so many points, it has blown it wide open for everybody else.
Yeah, one mediocre win to be able to jump all the way up from 13th to qualification, so plenty of movement still to come, but it's the kills that have really stolen the show, and it was Bestia who got the majority of them, aka getting nearly half of their total kills in one single game. That is really impressive to see from all of those teams. But let's take a look over at the player stats and see who really stood out this evening. I mean, for me, it's got to be those players from Bestia and, of course, DraftKing, who was so instrumental in every single fight that Bestia took.
Yeah, DraftKing 11 kills. We said it. Anytime they need a big play, DraftKing's usually the one that pulls it out of the bag. Got to give a lot of credit to Axmeyer too. You know, he started the day very strong. Slowed down a little as the night progressed, but 9 kills on 4 maps ain't bad at all, averaging 2 kills per game. But what I like about that is a lot of these teams were able to convert that damage into kills, which is what you need to do. But that brings an end, a conclusion to tonight's action. It was an absolute pleasure being on camera with you, Chunks, as always, and being on the mic. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, for the conclusion of this cup. Remember, it's just this week and next. And that is that for Chunks and I on the PUBG Players Tour for the year. That is that for open qualifiers and cups for the rest of the year. Then it's just that final LCQ and Masters, and then the event is done. But as always, I've been Gibson, you've been Chunks, and the viewers at home, you've been great. I'll see you all later.